Welcome, 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 welcome. We today are going to be doing something delightful. As with last Wednesday, we explored a bunch of the fabulous Spelljammer monsters. Today, we are going to be exploring the new Spelljammer. Yay! So we're going to be looking at the new races. We're going to be looking at new content. We're going to be looking at, because a lot of people don't know what Spelljammer is or how it works. So we're actually going to be going through and showing you what it means to be on a Spelljammer ship. And since I loved Spelljammer from way back, I will give you some hints and tricks about what it used to be and what it is now. So that's fabulous. Hi, Pixie! You're awesome. So, what I would like to do to start is, first off, hey, everybody in chat, I want to say thank you for being here today. Welcome, Roll Together. How was your fabulous stream earlier? And I'd like to talk about our fabulous sponsors like Hero Forge. If you look behind Lando, you will see a fabulous Hero Forge figure of our favorite Bearfolk barbarian named Gorf, who is delightful. That's Lando's character. You can go create your own characters in Hero Forge for free. They're super fabulous. Take little snapshots of it, and it's a great way to create character art. It's 3D character art. It makes me very, very happy. So head over to Hero Forge right now and go say hello. Hello. Next, I would like to say thank you to Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. If you look down at the bottom of your screen, you will see a code where you can plug this code into the Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms mobile game and get fabulous things from Electrum chests. They are super delightful. And you can power up your characters with them, and you can get it for free by using that code. So head over to Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms, plug in that code, and power up your fabulous champions of the Forgotten Realms. And finally, I would like to say thank you to Jim Firefly, Souls Rolls, and to Realm Warp Media, all of whom are absolutely fabulous allies of the channel. And if you'd like to learn more about them, you can head down to the About section and click on their links and go explore all of their delightful websites. So let's jump into some fabulousness first. Hey, everybody. What the hell's going on in here? It's craziness, is what it is. I want to know from you, what are the things about spelljamming that you have questions about? And what are you most excited for when it comes to Spelljammer? So, Lando, first I'm going to ask you. Hi, Phantom! And DJ, my day is going very well. Thank you. I get to do all kinds of Spelljammery goodness today, so I'm very excited about that. So Lando, what do you, first of all, what are you most curious about with Spelljammer?
That's a good question. I would say probably obviously, I think the ships. Honestly, just I know we touched on it a little bit when we talked about the monsters, but I like the idea of, what were they called again? The helm mask, the helm. Yeah, like how that kind of that whole thing works, and kind of maybe more like an overview of like the whole space as a whole, because we focus on monsters, and I kind of piece together kind of the vastness of this whole new adventure and what's all included and what's like all in there. But it'd be cool to get like an overview and kind of put some of the things we talked about in more context.
And get some specifics too about what's going on.
Exactly. That'd be my hope.
Well, Titus, thank you for that. I'm terrible with names, so if I forget that name, please forgive me in the future. I will need to be reminded, probably multiple times, about that. But I do love the name Titus because Final Fantasy X is one of my favorite games of all time. Makes me very happy. And Phantom, who's the new addition? Who's the new addition to your family? Is this like a human addition? Is this a four-legged addition? Is this like a bird, or maybe a gerbil or a snake or a reptile addition? There's let me know in the chat. That's super exciting. All right, cool. So that's definitely something that we will be covering. And what I want to know is whether or not the Nautiloid ships are still in, because those are my favorite from old Spelljammer, like the Illithid ships.
Oh, okay.
There is. Oh my God, you got a little doggy named Duke.
Oh,
Little
Duke.
doggy named Duke.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy. That's delightful. I am very, very excited about all of that. Let me see. There's a couple of things that I am really curious about. I'm really curious about these new races because I always love new races. I love seeing like how like the power creep with the races happens, like what they're doing with all of that. That makes me very happy. So I'm very excited to see that, and the Illithid shifts, and just see how things have shifted since the last time I saw a Spelljammer book.
That'll be probably that'll be really interesting, I think, in terms of like, you know, seeing like, oh, it used to be this, but now it's this, and then kind of figuring out, okay, but why? Like, why'd they change it? I mean, obviously it's a new system, but what they learned.
That's that's super. That is absolutely super important.
Yeah,
100%. Figuring out what the hell is going on with all of this. Oh my gosh. It's going to be delightful, though. I bet it's going to be delightful, is what I think. Do you think it's going to be delightful?
I do. I'm actually really excited. This is one that I think more than, at least in my mind, more than a lot of other of the books that have come out, this one really just opens up, I wouldn't say world, but I guess the universe, opens up the setting. I think that's the right word, which is cool.
It really opens up. So I think the next thing that they're going to do is they are going to put together a planescape thing.
Okay,
would be my guess, because right now they're fleshing out space, and then they're going to redo the gods. They're going to redo all the different things. We'll get a huge number of races with the planescape stuff if they do that next. But that's, if it were me in charge, that's what I would do.
And just to clarify, when you say planescape, you're talking about... I'm sorry, hold on. I just saw...
I just saw that too. Somebody just helped me out. So we have been trying to get me a desk and a chair for a while. And somebody just sent in like $150 for that. Oh my God.
Yeah, let me.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That is super delightful. There's, if anybody else would like to help out, that is, I am astonished at that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, can you do, Lando, can you send out like our Ko-fi link if you want to help me get off of this stool and behind a desk with a fabulous, with a chair and all that good stuff. We appreciate anything that you'd like to give. But for now, let us jump into
Let's do it.
Some fabulous spelljamming. All right, first, I think we need to go. I just want to go through character options first, and we can be super catty about whether they're okay or awful. And what I would like to say is, last week when we did the actual monsters, most of them were amazing. Like, they were gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
And then we got to like the last one, and we're like, wah, wah, wah. Like, it was just so cheesy. All right, so it looks like we've got 2 backgrounds to choose from, which is delightful. We've got the Astral Drifter and the Wild Spacer. So let's find out a little bit more about these guys.
Let's do it.
All right, so the Astral Drifter. For longer than you can remember, you have traversed the astral seas. There you experienced firsthand the wonders of the silver void. You stopped aging and no longer felt hunger or thirst. Driven by wanderlust, you drifted from one part of the astral sea to another, like a mote of dust on the wind. You have lost count of the decades that have passed since you arrived here. In your travels, you have camped on the petrified hulks of dead gods and narrowly escaped the psychic winds that sweep across the astral sea, while also avoiding prolonged contact with the plane's most dangerous denizens. So this is one thing that I love about what they're doing with Spelljammer now. Is it used to be that you were out in the phlogiston, and time still passed the same way, and it would take like weeks or months to get from one world to another world. And now, instead of it being the phlogiston, it's actually in the astral sea. So you can explore this forever. Like you can have humans that are like 1,000 years old because they went into the astral sea. And then, like, I love this mechanic now because what it allows for is, you know, if you've got, let's say, a mouse folk who probably lives like 20 or 30 years, you could send them out into the astral sea, have them like stay out there for 500 years, and then come back and be like, I remember 500 years ago. I think that it's super delightful.
Imagine what that does to like your psyche. Like, you know, there's like the first thing when you said I thought of was like the Chronicles of Narnia, where the kids go into the world, become adults, do all this stuff, become kings and queens and whatever, and then go back to their own time, back as children. How traumatic is that? Like,
well, my thing is, I feel like that is a huge issue for me. I actually have a major issue with the Narnia books. I love them to begin with, and then by the time they get to the end, it's just the issue with what's the older daughter's name? Susan. The issue with Susan, where because she chose to have a life outside of Narnia, she gets kicked out of Narnia forever.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I was like, that's pretty gross, Narnia. I'm not here for it.
You're like, calm down.
Yeah, there's but also, like, for me, if I could take all of the knowledge that I had now, like all the things that I've gone through, the maturity that I've gained, all that kind of stuff, over the course of many decades, and go back and be put back into my younger body, holy shit, I would take over the world. Like, I'd be everywhere at all times. And hi, Snowflake. Welcome. There is, yes, and Phantom. So what we were aiming for was a desk, a chair, and a bookshelf for me. And the desk is actually like the most costly component of that. So so that's why that is up there a bit. I do not expect to spend $150 on a chair. I'd like one that's like a gaming chair, so that, like, because I now spend so much time doing it, that it's actually really important that you have like the right kind of back support and stuff. Because like right now I've been doing all this on like a stool without a back, and holy crap, after being on this thing for 3 hours, dying. Like, I have to like stretch out my legs and stuff because everything's cramping.
To be fair, even in a gaming chair, which I do have, I sit down so long that I often have that too, where I'm like, I just need to go lay down.
Yeah. So hopefully that will help. That is, I've been looking at some gaming chairs recently, and there's some crazy deals on Amazon. I saw one that was like, it was marked down 77% from something, and I don't know why, but that sort of scared me a bit. But it was like, it was a $700 gaming chair that had like LED lights and stuff already in the chair and all this. And I was like, why are you marked down 77%? Like, do they have to get it out of the warehouse because it was catching fire? Like, what's going on?
At that price, it should have a built-in mini fridge.
Right, absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes. So, so I'm expecting like for a decent gaming chair, yeah, somewhere around $100, I think is what we're gonna
Yeah.
have to spend. Um, which is fine. But let's see what skill proficiencies and such we get with this fabulous background, which I'm enjoying a lot. Like I will probably be using this for a lot of my characters.
I really like the artwork. I think that's super cool. I hope that's a race that we see later.
Ew, it might be. I don't know if it is. That's probably like the plasmoid.
Oh,
Would
yep.
be my guess.
Yep.
There's so skill proficiencies. We get insight and religion. You get 2 languages. That's lovely. I guess that you would need that if you've been spending decades in the Astral Sea. You probably would pick up.
Sorry, remind me. So the reason that this whole thing works with the Astral Sea is obviously you don't age in the Astral Sea. Is that also true of the Astral Plane? Correct?
So the Astral Sea and the Astral Plane are now the same thing.
Okay.
As far as that is my understanding. That there was, so 3.5, you had the Great Wheel cosmology, right? Where it was, you had like, I think there were 16 different planes, and each of them was either like, you had the 4 planes that were utter good, evil, law, chaos, and then you had 3 planes in between each of them that were different variations of like, lawful good or chaotic good or, whatever it was going to be. Then you had the inner planes, which were the fire, water, earth, air, elemental planes. Sometimes people would consider the elemental plane of the positive energy plane and the negative energy plane to be part of the inner planes, and some people didn't. But they are considered part of the elemental planes now. You've got the plane of, essentially the plane of radiance, and which is the plane of light, and then the plane of darkness, which is the plane of negative energy. And then you have the quasi-elemental planes, which is the border regions between each one. And they were considered their own plane. And so like on the boundary of the water and fire elemental planes, you have the elemental plane of steam, where everything is literally steam. And, between earth and water, you had the elemental plane of ooze, where everything was just mud. It was a giant swamp. So things like that. And now you have things like you have the border with the elemental plane of radiance, which will like, where radiance meets the elemental plane of air, you have like the elemental plane of lightning.
The kind of
things like that.
Added them in.
So you had those. So those were the inner planes. Then you had the transitory planes. And the transitory planes were coterminous with the primaterial plane. So that would be in 3.5, it was like the ethereal plane, and the astral plane were there. And then sort of like the Feywild was its own thing, and the Shadowfell was its own thing.
But kind of like layered-ish in... Okay.
So they were like, you could get to them through the ethereal plane or the astral plane. But the astral plane and the ethereal plane and the primaterial plane all existed in the same space, but in different dimensions.
Gotcha, okay.
And so you could pop into the ethereal plane and travel, and then pop back into the elemental, into the primaterial plane. But you could also use the ethereal plane to travel elsewhere if you went into the deep ethereal. And so it was one of the fun things about 3.5 that I really do need to research this, is whether this carried over into 5e, is that the ethereal plane is where ghosts live. And so it's why, force damage goes through both the primaterial and the ethereal plane, which is why you could hit ghosts with force damage. And if you were in the ethereal plane and you used force damage, it would affect the physical plane at the primaterial plane. But I don't know if that's still the thing now that the ethereal has been shifted a bit. But yes, that was a 5-minute rundown of everything you might need to know about the plane.
That's helpful, and that gives us at least a basis to figure out how things have changed for here.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
So there is. All right, so we've got a couple of skill proficiencies. You know, I think that insight is so underrated, and I need to start using it in my games more with players to see, like, do you know how to defeat this thing? Do you know what this thing is about to do? Can you read their body language and see who they're going after? And start using that as a mechanic to, like, give people either advantage or disadvantage on rolls, stuff like that.
I like that. It role plays a lot. It role plays much differently than like intelligence. Like, I like it. Like instinct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is cool.
There's all right. So equipment, you get some clothes, an ink pen, and a bottle of ink, and a diary, so that you can keep track of all the things that you've done in the Astral Sea over the hundreds of years that you've been here. There is you are 20d6 years older than you look because you spent so much time in the Astral Sea without aging. I do like that. I think that's cute that they put that in there. That's pretty fabulous. All right, so the feature is Divine Contact. You gain the Magic Initiate feat for the player's handbook. And you must choose Cleric for the feat. You get a free feat, so you get 2 skills, 2 languages, and a feat, which gives you magic abilities.
We're getting some power creep from backgrounds now, because before backgrounds were like kind of flavor-ish. This is actually like as
well. It was. I mean, you would typically get something that would help you, you know. But there's definitely, since Strixhaven, there's definitely been some power creep with the backgrounds, because I think, don't you get, if you do like a Strixhaven background, you also get that particular feat as well?
Yeah, you might. I don't know 100%, but that wouldn't surprise me.
Let's look at the Magic Initiate fit. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see. So you learn 2 cantrips of your choice from that class's spell list. So you can be a fighter with a couple of cantrips going on from the cleric spell list. In addition, choose 1 first-level spell from the same list. You learn that spell and can cast it at its lowest level. Once you cast it, you must finish a long rest before you do it again. Your spell casting ability for these spells depends on what you choose. It's Wisdom, because this was so. You get a first-level spell and 2 cantrips. And that first-level spell you can cast once a day without using a spell slot.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
That's intense.
That's pretty nice.
I mean, I would use that for everything. I don't care if if I had a rogue, I would absolutely get like Mage Hand and, you know, like Thaumaturgy or something.
100%.
Like and then have a first level spell that like opened doors for me. 100%.
Yeah.
Let's see. In the Astral Sea, you cross paths with a wandering deity. The encounter was brief and non-violent, yet it made a lasting impression on you. The deity saw fit to share 1 secret or obscure bit of cosmic lore with you. Work with the DM to determine the details of this knowledge and its impact on the campaign. Roll on the Divine Contact table to determine which deity you encountered or work with the DM to identify a suitable choice. Wow.
In case you didn't already think this was really good, here's the secret.
Yeah. So you get literally everything with this thing. Why would anyone ever pick a different subclass?
And I mean, it literally fits into any kind of background you want. Like, any kind of person could have gone off and did this thing. I mean, not any kind, but you could make it work in any kind of character, any kind of background you want. Like, I was in the Astral Sea and now I'm smart.
You could have been kidnapped.
Or unless you're stupid.
And dragged around the Astral Sea for years, and like a deity like freed you or something. Yep. Like, absolutely, all kinds of stuff. All right, so I'm in love with this friggin' background.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
All right, Wild Spacer. You were raised in the void of wild space, home to asteroid miners, moon farmers, and other hardy folk. Perhaps you grew up on a far-flung settlement such as the Rock of Brawl. Or you spent your early years on the crew of a spell-jamming ship, performing helpful chores such as swabbing the deck, loading and offloading cargo, and scraping barnacles off the hull. Whatever your history, life in wild space has toughened you so well that you are as brave as a miniature giant space hamster when it comes to facing the terrors and other challenges of the airless night. I love that they actually have an actual monster listing for miniature giant space hamster. I'm sorry, that just makes me. Boo has a listing now in here. The fact that they also do have giant space hamsters listed is also makes me very happy.
That's so great.
All right, so you get athletics and survival. You don't get any other skills. Tool proficiencies. Ooh, you get navigator's tools, and you are proficient with space vehicles.
Okay.
Very nice. Okay, love that.
So, question about that: does that mean that you can fly the thingies, fly the ships with the helmet, or is it?
You have to be a magic user to do that.
So these, wow.
There are probably
other ones.
Other ships.
Okay.
So there are other ships that would be considered vehicles that would not necessarily be spelljamming vehicles that probably have to do with like short range.
Gotcha. Okay.
Things through the astral sea. Like there would need to be things. I'm sure like in the astral sea, if there's like a giant citadel, you're going to have little machines that are going to take you around, this thing, because there's got to be cities that are miles long.
Yeah.
In the astral sea.
So it's like the equivalent of like a regular sailing ship. You can't pilot the sailing ship, but you could work the hell out of the rowboat.
Well, I feel like you could there could definitely be some crossover depending on what kind of ships
you're
used to. There's but definitely, yeah, it's there. I feel like it would be for me. The idea is it's the difference between a car and a golf cart.
Okay. That's a good distinction.
One is meant to take you anywhere, and the other one is meant to take you very specifically to like the store. All right, what equipment do you get? You get a belaying pin, a set of traveler's clothes, a grappling hook, 50 feet of hempen rope, and a pouch containing 10 gold pieces. Cool. Okay, so like you need that rope. Everybody on a ship needs rope. That's what you need. Let's see what you get. Close encounter. You had a harrowing encounter with one of Wild Space's many terrors. You escaped with your life, but the encounter left you with a scar or two, or perhaps a recurring nightmare. Roll on the close encounter table to determine which creature nearly got the best of you. Creatures marked with an asterisk appear in Boo's Astral Menagerie. Oh my god, I love it. Let me see what that is.
Yeah.
I've sent the link. I need to check that out. It's the monster manual for outer space.
Oh my gosh. Yes, okay. Please.
Because here's the thing about this is that it actually, if you get the box set, it's actually 3 separate books.
Oh.
The Spelljammer. Yeah. So you've got like the adventures, you've got the menagerie, and then you've got like the player's handbook for Astral Sea, because it's so different than everything else. Now the books are much smaller. They're like 60 or 70 pages, but you get 3 of them. So we've got Beholder, Cosmic Horror, Fair, Lunar Dragon. Ew, love that. Mind Flayer, Nathalglu, Neogi, Space Clown, Vampirate. Shut up with a Vampirate.
Vampirate!
Unacceptable.
Okay.
Oh my god, or Avoid.
We'll have to look at all of these. I'm so excited to look at the monsters.
God.
So much fun.
No.
Oh. No. It's beautiful. Can't say anything.
I want no part of this anymore. Hi, Nathan. How are you? Nathan is a delight. Everybody should go check out Reckless Attack podcast. Super, super extra delightful. I just love it. The one I did one of them. You should definitely go check that out. The one that he did with Lexi was just glorious. So Welcome, Nathan. I'm touting the fact that somebody just, we've been trying to get me like a desk, a bookshelf, and a chair for like a month and a half at this point, and somebody just donated $150, so I'm very excited about that.
That's fantastic.
That makes me super happy. And oh my god, I just realized I'm playing Fallout 4 listening to this stream at Diamond City Radio while thinking of doing Fallout in Vegas with Sky. And you're listening to that. Absolutely. We should definitely be a channel in Fallout. You should be able to tune it. Fallout $1 million idea, have like a Twitch channel where you have like different Twitch streams going.
Oh shit! And have them be
Diamond
live.
City Radio.
That's such a good idea, actually.
Absolutely.
It's really, really good.
I gotta create a mod now it's gonna be like our Twitch mod where you can just tune in. Like, well, if we're not live, we will have like the YouTube going on like a playlist. Like, absolutely. And Baba Yaga, yes, we will go for the eyes. Hi, Mac. Hi, Mac. Vampirates, still unacceptable. Phantom, no. So Titus, I really enjoy Fallout when I can play it. At this point, I'm doing so many things. Like, I just took on 3 writing projects and maybe a 4th one, and I'm running the stream team, and I'm trying to run the charity and this. So I'm doing like 4 streams a week at this point. So I don't have a lot of time for Fallout, but honestly, my favorite parts of Fallout are when you get to like help build up all the different settlements. Like, that's my favorite part. And going and setting them up so that like when monsters or raiders come around, you get to just take them out instantaneously. And building, for me, it's always the world building. Like, it's fun to explore, that's delightful, but if I really look at like the amount of time I spend on different things in Fallout, it would definitely be like probably 70% going around to the different settlements and building things, and then like 30% like actually going in, and probably like 20% then going out and killing things so that I have the resources to build things that I need, and then like 10% moving the actual storyline forward. Like, it was the same thing with Skyrim, where I have played at more than 1,000 hours of Skyrim, and I have never beaten the game because I just went on every side mission.
Yeah.
And, so I love them. They're addictive. They're delightful. I think Fallout 4, absolutely fabulous. So much better than Fallout 76. That was a mess. Even after the rollout was horrific, and even after they tried to patch everything, was still terrible. You know, so I won't say terrible. It got much better, but it was still just meh. I just didn't like it nearly as much as I liked 4. And okay, so final thing with the with your Wild Spacer, the adaptation is you get the tough feat. In addition, you learn how to adapt to zero gravity. Being weightless does not give you disadvantage on any of your melee attack rolls. So that's fun. So tough feat is the one where you get all kinds of extra hit points.
Yeah, I think
So I'm totally down with that too. If you want to be a brawler, you want to be, or even if you want to be a mage that doesn't die immediately. Absolutely. If Diraxus needed the tough feat, that's what Diraxus needed.
He did.
He
really did.
I mean, with that, against that one thing, it wouldn't have mattered. But in general,
overall. I mean, it was really funny him going down until him going down and just him dying outright.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one creature.
We would not have had the meme of Diraxus all lying on the ground if you had the tough feet.
We would not have.
That's the thing.
Worth it.
I love it. Oh my gosh. All right, now, so I personally prefer the first one. I like the Astral Drifter, just for the flavor of it, but also you get freaking spells with it. Like, it's a background with spells. Are you kidding me?
Rather than having to use a feat, just get one for having a background. That's
crazy.
That's really.
All right, let's see. Let us look at some races. We've got a new race of elves to look at. The Astral Elves. Long ago, groups of elves ventured from the Feywild to the Astral Plane to be closer to their gods. Life in the Silver Void has imbued their souls with a spark of divine light. That light manifests as a starry gleam in the Astral Elf's eyes. Because nothing ages on the Astral Plane, Astral Elves who inhabit the plane can be very old, and their longevity gives them an unusual perspective on the passage of time. Some are prone to melancholy, while others might display an absence of feeling. Many look for creative ways to occupy themselves. When they choose to live in quiet contemplation or strike out to explore the reaches of the multiverse, Astral Elves tend to see things through the lens of time as having little or no meaning to them. Astral Elves who don't dwell on the Astral Plane can live to be more than 750 years old. So when you run into an Astral Elf, you might be talking to someone who's 10,000 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
100%.
easily.
You know what?
All right, let's see what you get. You have the following facial traits. You are humanoid. You are also considered an elf for any prerequisite or effect that requires you to be an elf. You are medium. You have your 30-foot walking speed. Astral Fire. You know one of the following cantrips of your choice: Dancing Lights, Light, or Sacred Flame. Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma is your spellcasting ability for it. Choose it when you select this race. All right, you get Dark Vision out to 60 feet. Fun. You have Fey Ancestry. You get advantage against Charm. Keen Senses, you are proficient with the Perception skill. Fabulous. You get a skill proficiency. Starlight Step. As a bonus action, you can magically teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you get it back when you finish a long rest. All right, so there is definitely power creep on these races.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
good.
the last one, the monstrous, the monsters of the multiverse, definitely jumped out. Like it definitely popped all the older races into new categories, and now all the races are going to be this powerful. So there's no reason at this point to use any legacy races, really. I don't think. Astral Trance, you do not need to sleep, and magic can't put you to sleep. You can finish a long rest in 4 hours if you spend those hours in trance-like meditation, during which you remain conscious. Whenever you finish this trance, you gain proficiency in one skill of your choice, and with a weapon or tool of your choice, selected from the player's handbook. You mystically acquire these proficiencies by drawing them from shared elven memory and the experiences of entities in the astral plane, and you retain them until you finish your next long rest. So if you just want to have proficiency, like if you're a wizard, but you just sort of want proficiency with a greatsword, absolutely.
It's like, yeah, I'll take that.
I know. I've played this before. I know this game. Absolutely.
That's honestly like a super cool mechanic in terms of like, I think it gives like DMs more freedom and stuff to do. It's like, okay, for example, like you're a wizard and you come across a greatsword, you're like, I want to use that because it's cool. Be like,
yeah,
now you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you don't have to rebuild your whole character in order to accommodate something that you find interesting to you.
Yeah. No, I do like that there's a lot more. It seems to me that everything is really being moved more towards storytelling and away from, because D&D started as a combat simulator. Mm-hmm. It's essentially, here are the rules for doing combat against these creatures. And that was sort of the point of it. Like role-playing was fun and delightful, but there was a lot of rules and regulations as far as what's going on with the various things. And now it seems like they're trying to create specific ways to allow characters to have whatever character they want. And I think one of the things they're doing is they're taking a lesson from Pathfinder, because Pathfinder is much more crunchy than D&D is, but they have so many options that you can create literally anything you want. So it's just it can take a while to build a character, but when you do, you can they've got a whole series that's just all about if you want to create a character that's one of the X-Men. It's just absolutely, you can have a whole team of X-Men very specifically looking and doing what the X-Men look for and do.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
pretty good. That's pretty
I feel like it is a solid thing. It definitely has like a lot of like the flavor of the Monsters of the Multiverse races.
Yeah.
More powerful, more fun stuff that you can do at first level, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see who else is going to be in here and what like things they do that where you get like spells and stuff at like 5th level. Because I do love those.
Yeah, because they did have those with the other races where you had stuff that was immediate, then you had stuff that came on. Obviously, this one, the Starlight Step, you get more uses as your proficiency goes up, which is kind of the natural progression of it. But no,
I like it.
obviously this is solid.
All right, let's look at the Auto Gnome.
Oh
Auto
my gosh,
Gnomes are mechanical beings built by rock gnomes. Sometimes because of a malfunction or a unique circumstance, an Auto Gnome becomes separated from its creator and strikes out on its own. This sounds very much like the little creatures from Mechanus. They can become like they'll become rebels and they'll leave Mechanus, and they're all like the little mechanical people.
Yeah.
The drones, God, what are they called? The Modrons.
The Modron.
Yeah. Sometimes they will go rogue and they'll leave Mechanus and be warped by the pressures from the other planes that they have started wandering through.
Yeah.
And they will no longer be Modrons. There's all right, an Autognome bears a resemblance to its creator, and most Autognomes are programmed to speak and understand Gnomish. The internal components used in an Autognome's manufacture can vary widely. One Autognome might have an actual beating heart in its chest cavity, while another might be powered by stardust or intricate clockwork gears. I do love that there is like the creativity and the ability to really sort of define how this was created, because especially if we're dealing with like a multiverse thing, there's infinite universes, you know, that might create different things, and they all bleed into the astral sea, and they all then end up in the outer planes, you know, all that kind of stuff. I think that would be absolutely fabulous. And did we announce in the Discord channel that we went live?
I did not. Sorry, I was scrambling.
There's no worries.
But,
no worries.
Yeah, give me a sec.
Let's let the Discord channel know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's hilarious. Let's see. Roll on the Autognome history table or choose an entry that you like to identify what event set you on the path to adventure. If nothing on the table appeals to you, work with your DM to create an origin story for your character. Like gnomes, Autognomes can live for centuries, typically up to 500 years. Okay, so first off, I love the fact that like in all of these, there's like all the things where there are choices about how they were created. They are now including talk with your DM. If there's a really cool way to do this, absolutely. And I adore that. That just makes me so happy. But I hate this idea that there's a lifespan for an Autognome, because if it is a construct, as long as it keeps repairing itself, it can live forever, you know? And that's sort of the beauty. Same thing with like Warforged. I hate the idea of a Warforged having a lifespan if you can find the right materials to repair yourself. So I'm not really down with that. But let's see what some of these options are. I'm super curious. Your creator gave you autonomy and urged you to follow your dreams. Fabulous.
Oh.
Your creator died, leaving you to fend for yourself.
Yeah, not as nice.
A glitch caused you to forget your original programming. You don't remember who made you or where you come from. Okay.
Classic.
You didn't like how you were being treated by your creator, so you ran away from home. Absolutely. 100%. You were built to complete a special mission. I really like that one. And the reason I like that is because there's so many story options with that. If you've got, this is something that is really important when you're dealing with character, is make sure that your character actually has a reason that they are doing things. That it's not just because I'm here. Because those stories are boring.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm doing this thing because the DM said we were doing a thing. No. No. You created a character. Make sure that your character, that there is a reason that they are doing the things that you're doing. And if you've got a mission, wherever it's coming from, whatever that mission is, and it's like, oh, I'm with these adventurers as long as they are in line with this mission, absolutely. You try to get the adventurers to join you on your mission. But storytelling, it's really important that there's like a moment where you're not doing the thing that is helping me on my mission. I now have to make a decision whether I'm going to stay with you, whether I'm going to follow my mission. You know, like, is there an ultimatum? Something like that. That's an interesting story that you, and a very interesting thing to role play in that moment. Where are the bonds that you've created more important than this mission that you've been going on forever? You know, so I love.
I think it'd be really interesting if you had a mission, but like you find out at like the end or whatever that the mission, either the time had passed for it or like the mission didn't matter, and like you have to like you're like, oh god, like,
I mean, one fabulous thing there is like that there were 100 of you programmed to get this mission done just in case 99 of you died, you know, just to make sure that the mission would get done. But none of you know that the others exist. So you get there to the end and it's been done for a while.
Yeah, it's been done for years.
You're like, oh
god.
Okay. Oops. Yeah. No, that's a delight right there is what that is. Yes, Baba Yaga, you get to be a robot. You sure do.
Robot.
And yeah, Bicentennial Man. It was I don't remember specifics about that movie. I just remember Robin Williams was in it. But I remember that I liked it and everyone else seemed to hate it. So I'm like, oh.
I just remember like the poster, I think.
Yeah. But it's absolutely par for the course for me that like I will love something and at the time everyone will be like, this is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And then 10 years later, like, actually, if you really look at this, like, I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll do that then. That's fine. All right, let's see. Autonomes. Oh, you felt trapped in a role for which you were built and abandoned your creator, determined to find a greater purpose. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally down with that. That whole, I mean, it very much is that the Rick and Morty moment with the little robot created to pass the butter.
Yeah, I honestly was thinking that. What is my purpose?
What is my purpose? You pass the butter. Oh my god.
My favorite meme of that is, instead of the little robot, it's Microsoft Edge, and it's like, what is my purpose? To download Chrome.
It's true. It's absolutely true. All right, what are our traits? You are a construct. Ooh, you're small. You're a little guy.
Yeah.
You walk your speed up to but you get 30-foot speed as a small creature. Okay, all right. You are encased in thin metal or some durable material. While you aren't wearing armor, your base armor class is 13 plus your dexterity modifier, so that's lovely.
That's solid.
So it's like you have automatic mage armor on. Love that. Built for success. You can add a d4 to one attack roll, ability check, or saving throw you make, and you can do so after seeing the d20 roll, but before the effects of the roll are resolved. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish the long rest. So you can just like, I love that. Like, I just think like an attack where it's like your robotic arm like goes out to like stab somebody, and then you just slightly miss, and you have your joint is just like, wow. Just go right over.
Or you mistime the distance, and you're like, oh, and then your arm just extends a little bit. Yeah.
Healing machine. If the mending spell is cast on you, you can spend a hit die, roll it, and regain a number of hit points equal to your roll plus your Constitution modifier. Lovely. In addition, your creator designed you to benefit from several spells that preserve life but normally didn't affect constructs. Cure Wounds, Healing Word, Mass Cure Wounds, Mass Healing Word, and Spare the Dying. Oh, you can still... That's delightful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking about like an autonome like machine that has taken, like, if this is your race and then you take the astral wanderer, is that what it was called? Astral drifter.
Yeah.
Astral drifter, and you just get the cleric class, so you can take mending.
Yeah, and you just
and cure wounds.
heal yourself. It doesn't matter what class you are.
Just constantly, just boop, 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 boop. You're good.
Yeah, I think the reason it said you spend a hit die, so eventually you will run out.
Oh, that's true.
It's not infinite, but still, like, I mean, you know, you
that's
get a decent hit die. Well, let's
see. So you've got mechanical nature. You have resistance to poison damage and immunity to disease. Nice. And you have advantage on saving throws against being paralyzed or poisoned. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. That is actually really useful.
Yeah, it is.
In the Astral Sea, because there is no air in the Astral Sea. So or in wild space. So so that's fun.
You get like a helmet? Or so?
Well, you get a helmet. There's a whole thing where it's like you have your own personal gravity, and you have enough air in your personal gravity envelope to last for like 1 or 2 minutes. But after that, all of the air, like, you still maintain the gases around you, but then they're all converted to carbon dioxide.
Gotcha. Welcome, Alakazam.
Hi, Alec. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yay, Rays! Hi, Kevin. How are you? We are hanging back. Today we are going through the new Spelljammer. Yay! We are currently looking at backgrounds and races. These backgrounds are no joke. Like, they are serious backgrounds, and I love them. Also, we are celebrating the fact that somebody, I have been for more than a month trying to get a desk and a chair and a bookshelf, so that I don't have to be on the stool anymore, and somebody donated $150. So very excited about that. If anybody wants to help us out with that, you can see the link below. There is Kawaii Tornado. Well, absolutely, you should hang out here for a bit. Spelljammer! I'm very excited about it. There is so there's all kinds of fabulous stuff that we are doing. We are currently looking at the auto gnomes, and there is a link if anybody would like to help us out and donate to the cause. We are currently looking at auto gnomes who apparently are healing machines and have a mechanical nature. Now we're looking at Sentry's Rest. When you take a long rest, you spend at least 6 hours in an inactive, motionless state instead of sleeping. In the state, you appear inert, but you remain conscious. And Specialized Design, you gain 2 tool proficiencies of your choice. Very nice.
Oh, there you go.
So that's lovely.
Cool.
So you were built for a specific purpose. I feel like this is definitely a fun one that would be great for like spellcasters, because you get that automatic armor, and all of the stuff that you get with like the mechanical nature, like that's super duper useful. Absolutely.
This is a really fun race.
Yeah, I think if you want to design something that is just there for survivability, Autonome is the way to go. Now let's look at the GIF. GIF are tall, broad-shouldered folk with hippo-like features. Some have smooth skin, while others have short bristles on their faces and the tops of their heads. As beings of impressive size and unforgettable appearance, GIF are noticed wherever they go. Most GIF believe they originated on one world, but their home world is now the stuff of legend, because no living GIF has seen it or knows where it is. So there's an adventure hook for you. The divine beings who created GIF have likewise been forgotten. Their titanic, petrified bodies drift on the astral sea, isolated and unrecognized. in their current form. Although they don't realize it, GIF are drawn to the astral plane because, on a deep psychic level, they remain connected to their creator gods, who have just enough divine spark left in them to imbue GIF with sparks of their own, which GIF have learned to channel through their weapons. Most GIF have no idea where this so-called astral spark comes from, but they feel its presence most strongly when they are in wild space or the astral sea. GIF are split into two camps concerning how their name is pronounced. Half of them say it with a hard G, half with a soft G. So GIF or oh my god, I just got it.
No, oh no.
Is it a GIF or is it a GIF?
It's a GIF because it stands for it's graphic.
Love that. I'm gonna say thank you for whoever created this race for including that.
They're like I gotta sneak this sentence in. Like I gotta sneak it in.
You get a gold star. You get a gold star. There's
so good.
Disagreements over the correct pronunciation often blossom into hard feelings, loud arguments, and a head-butting contest, but it rarely escalate beyond that. Oh my god. Yes, already this is like my new favorite race. You have the following racial traits. You are a humanoid. You're only medium, okay.
They're still cowards.
But you have a swimming speed equal to your walking speed. That's nice. Astral Spark. Your psychic connection to the astral plane enables you to mystically access a spark of divine power, which you can channel through your weapons. When you hit a target with a simple or martial weapon, you can cause the target to take extra force damage equal to your proficiency bonus. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, but you can use it no more than once per turn. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. That sounds pretty cool until they added you can cause it to take extra force damage equal to your proficiency bonus, and there's a limited number of times that you can do it.
Yeah.
Because like the Ranger class, the Horizon Walker, you get the ability to, if you use a bonus action, you get a plus 1d8 force damage, and all of the damage that you do for that one attack is considered force damage, and you can use that every round. You can add 1d8 to your attacks every round.
If they had said every round, I mean, even then, like the max proficiency is like 6. Like
yeah, and once you get to 6 proficiency bonus, you are dealing with things where 6 hit points is
it's nothing.
It's not going to do much.
Yeah.
I personally, I would definitely expand that. If this is a spark from a divine being, I would definitely expand it so that at very least you can do it every round. You know, you just automatically have a little extra force damage.
Yeah.
You know, or that you can use like your reaction that round, or make it a bonus action like the Ranger thing. I do not like that limit.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weak.
Firearms Mastery. You have a mystical connection to firearms that traces back to the gods of the gift, who delighted in such weapons. I feel like this is definitely commentary. Like, there's a whole series of gods that are dead, and they're the ones that loved guns. Like,
I didn't even think about that, but that's actually super funny. They were really jazzed about guns, but they're all dead now.
All the other gods are fine. The gods that love the guns are all dead. Like this. You have proficiency with all firearms and ignore the loading property of any firearm. Oh, wow. In addition, attacking at long range with a firearm does not impose disadvantage in your attack roll.
Okay.
So you essentially get a feat.
Well, this is better than the regular feat, like by a good bit. That long range deal is really good.
Yeah, well, you get this with like the crossbow mastery as well. You can ignore the loading feature. You don't get advantage at long range, stuff like that. So it's essentially the same thing for firearms.
Yep, potentially. Yeah.
All right, and then we've got Hippo Build. You have advantage on strength-based ability checks and strength saving throws. In addition, you count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push. Fabulous. Okay, so you've got, does 5e not have like heavy build as a mechanic?
It's called Powerful Build.
Powerful build, yeah.
They
Why
just
don't they just
they
yeah.
just called it Hippo Build.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but
There's
it's the same. It's the same thing.
oh my god, yeah. There is. I want this to be a better race.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
of the
Unless
things
you're
that
like really jazzed about guns, this
yeah,
race
like
is
you said,
pretty mid.
yeah, they just made you all about like guns and y'all killed your own gods probably, and that's what you don't
Which is
remember
funny because
where you came
guns
from.
don't tend to like.
No,
If
this really, if you dig into this, and you're like, here's the race that loves guns, loves weapons, like loves gunpowder, and no one remembers what their world is. Their world essentially got destroyed.
yeah,
All their gods got
no,
destroyed.
100%.
I'm like, okay.
But like I'm thinking from like a role play perspective, like you typically pick a bigger race if you want to do like martial combat, but then you're like, hey, these are big guys, but they use guns,
Yeah.
which is like
Like,
it seems opposing. I mean, I understand like the lore of this race or whatever, but it's
yeah, I
kinda-
want this race to be better because it looks so fun. Like the art is
it
so
looks
delightful.
really cool. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I want to be a hippo person. We definitely need to include now. We need to add GIF to
Just
Valencia.
have them show up.
Or like,
Be like,
that
yo.
our world is their long lost home world. That Valand was where they came from, and they all
left because Bala
when
didn't
they
want to use
started
guns.
killing everything. When they all started killing everything with guns, then Valinor just said, "Nope, get the hell out of here."
Balinor restricted the use of guns, and so they all
And
left.
they were like, "Whatever, man."
That's no, you can't take away our guns.
Oh, this makes me so sad about this race. I'm like, this is definitely one of those where I'm like, Watsy, do better.
Come on.
I need you to be better. Like,
it's funny because both the other races we looked at were so like open ended and so many kind of like options. This is like if you want to have any kind of use from your class, like you have to build guns.
yeah,
But then you're strong too. You're like, I guess maybe like I don't know what kind of guns there are, but I'm thinking like you're big. You're like a big. You don't. That doesn't correlate. And this is like you have like a mini gun or like a giant like blunderbuss, and you just go up in people's faces and just shoot them with a blunderbuss. But that's like the only thing I can think of that would make sense instead of being further away. But
yeah,
I don't know.
It's just Watsy, do better.
Yeah,
and Baba Yaga. Yeah, there's definitely some problematic stuff there. There's some pretty massively problematic stuff there. All right, let's look at this Hadozi. So before we start with Hadozi, there were some really problematic things with Hadozi in 3.5.
Yeah.
So they're originally from I think the Stormrack book, and essentially it was somebody's slavery fantasy that they created. In 3.5, it was literally like they were these simian creatures that were only meant to serve, and they so adored their very Caucasian astral elf masters that they just loved doing the work. They loved doing the work on the ship, and it was so gross. If you read any of the old lore, just massive trigger warning for racism and all that
kind
of
oversight
stuff.
Or any kind of like.
So no, it's the guy that wrote it has literally. There have been entire campaigns online dedicated to rewriting the super racist shit that he wrote.
Yeah.
Including, it's why Curse of Strahd looks so different than it used to because of all of the horrifically racist stuff that he put in there about the gypsies. And so it was really bad. So yeah, it was. So I am hoping, I have not read this yet, I am hoping that WotC has hired somebody to get rid of that all of that old stuff, and let's see what the new lore is, shall we? And see if we can let go of the old stuff.
Yeah.
So the first Hadozis were timid mammals no bigger than house cats. Hunted by larger natural predators, the Hadozis took to the trees and evolved wing-like flaps to enable them to glide from branch to branch. Several hundred years ago, so I'm thinking like the flying squirrels, that sort of thing. Several hundred years ago, a wizard visited Yazir, the Hadozi homeworld, with a small fleet of spelljamming ships. Under the wizard's direction, apprentices laid magic traps and captured dozens of Hadozis. The wizard fed the captives an experimental elixir that enlarged them and turned them into a sapient bipedal beings. The elixir had the side effect of intensifying the Hadozi's panic response, making them more resilient when harmed. So they have extra adrenal reaction. Okay. The wizard's plan was to create an army of enhanced Hadozi warriors for sale to the highest bidder. But instead, oh god. But instead, the wizard's apprentices grew fond of the Hadozis and helped them escape. The apprentices and the Hadozis were forced to kill the wizard, after which they fled, taking with them all remaining vials of the wizard's experimental elixir. Okay, at least they weren't actually sold.
Okay.
I feel like, though, we could definitely leave that lore behind.
We don't... it's like they have like a kind of feeblish attempt to try to like redeem the previous lore, and they're like, well, it was kind of like that, but then they changed it and they did better, and you're like, oh.
I'm like,
hey, Blizzard.
I gotta say, there's definitely a white editor at play here. Like, I don't know who wrote it, but some white editor was like, this is fine. Oh,
yes.
Yeah, I'm not super excited about that. With the help of their liberators, the Hadozis returned to their homeworld and used the elixirs to create more of their kind. In time, all Hadozi newborns came to possess the traits of the enhanced Hadozis. Then, centuries ago, Hadozis took to the stars, leaving Yazir's fearsome predators behind. In addition to being natural climbers, Hadozis have feet that are as dexterous as their hand, even to the extent of having opposable thumbs. Membranes of skin hang loosely from their arms and legs when stretched out. These membranes enable Hadozis to glide. Hadozis wrap these wings around themselves to keep warm. So I am like, okay, fine, but I'm still just, given their history, I think and this is one of those things, I think it is important to have a conversation about how to be better at decolonizing whatever we are creating. And if it is a whole bunch of people creating something like this, then how to have real conversations and push back against colonial ideals of what's going on,
Like, I think, probably the main issue is that if this had been like the first iteration of these creatures, be like, still kind of like, but not as problematic. But the fact that they didn't like really try to reverse it and really try to like really steer clear and even kind of like had even hints of the past kind of thing, I think is pretty problematic.
Yeah, no, I feel like what happened here is they tried to erase the past and just ended up like reminding us of it in this sort of, for me, this leads to sort of a larger topic, which is the like half-assed way that people try to shove racism under the rug.
Yeah.
If something is racist, let's look at it. Let's say this is fucking racist.
Yeah.
How do we do better next time? Not how do we like make ourselves feel better, and try to erase our personal guilt about what we have done, and what our ancestors did and what we continue to do to suppress people in marginalized communities. But what is this thing and why is it racist, and analyze it without us putting up defense mechanisms and shit like that. And then we're like, well, what if we did this? And now this is fine because they killed their people. It's like, no, the whole point is to create a situation where you don't have to deal with fucking racist shit in the fabulous games that we all like playing.
Right.
Like, that's the point. Just take it the fuck out. Nobody needs to have created these people because they were smarter than these creatures, which is another racist ass trope that you were putting here. Like, there's, oh my god, that is just, oh god, yeah, no, that is just that is not a thing here. Kawaii, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. There is, we do occasionally get into these kind of conversations here on the channel when I'm a firm believer, when you see some stupid shit, you need to call it out.
Yeah.
Like, you just need to call it out. Don't be scared to have the conversation about it. This is still pretty fucking racist, and I will not allow Hadozis in any of my campaigns. If anybody wants to show up with a fucking Hadozi, you can fuck right off right now. I am not here for it. This is an absolute fail for WotC, and I'm going to just move right past it like it doesn't fucking exist. We're gonna move on to Plasmoids.
Do it.
Is what we're gonna do. Plasmoids are amorphous beings with no typical shape. In the presence of other folks, they often adopt a similar shape. But there's a little chance of mistaking a plasmoid for anything else. They consume food by osmosis, the way an amoeba does, and excrete waste through tiny pores. They breathe by absorbing oxygen through another set of pores, and their limbs are strong and flexible enough to grasp and manipulate weapons and tools. Although most plasmoids are translucent gray, they can alter their color and translucence by absorbing dyes through their pores. So their clothes are actually like different. If they want to change clothes, they just eat dye. That's awesome. I love that. All right, cool. So one thing that I love about this for biological reasons is if you have like a certain plasmoid that like eats, like let's say they eat a bunch of meat or something, but they don't need like all the carbon, like they're like, I want to figure out what their actual biology is. So it's like, oh, I don't need like the carbon that's in here because I absorb other things. Then they could leave like literally like just tiny little diamonds in their wake. Like just, it looks like shimmery dust and it's actually like microscopic diamonds.
Oh man.
Just sort of floating around them all the time. Plasmoids don't have internal organs of the usual sort. Their bodies are composed of cells, fibers, plasma-like ooze, and clusters of nerves. These nerves enable a plasmoid to detect light, heat, texture, sound, pain, and vibrations. Cool. Plasmoids can stiffen the outer layers of their bodies to maintain a human-like shape so they can wear clothing and accessories. They speak by forcing air out of a tubular cavity that constricts to produce sound. When plasmoids sleep, they lose their rigidity and spread out and are thus sometimes mistaken for a rock or some other feature of the environment. Awesome. Okay. Riding a giant space hamster. That's right, plasmoid.
The question 100%. Is, can you crawl under a door as a plasmoid?
I don't know. We'll see in just a sec.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes, Flizzard, this definitely would be up. This definitely would be up your alley, Flizzard. Like 100%. I am definitely, like, after we finish this campaign, I am definitely doing like a Spelljammer / planar travel campaign, where we go through all the different planes, all that fun stuff. All right, let's see what the traits are. You are an ooze. Yes, you are. You are not a humanoid. You are an ooze, which means that like hold person, charm, none of that stuff is going to work on you. Size, you are medium or small. You choose the size when you select this race, absolutely. 30 feet walking. You can squeeze through a space as narrow as provided you are wearing and carrying nothing. You have advantage on ability checks you take to initiate or escape a grapple. So absolutely, it could be that, like, if the space is large enough for a dagger, you could drag a dagger onto the door. But if not, you have to leave it behind.
You gotta go commando.
Yeah. Dark vision, you've got dark vision out to 60 feet. You can hold your breath for up to an hour. Okay, so you do need to breathe. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that is
You
weird.
have resistance to acid and poison damage, and you have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned. I like the resilience to acid. The resistance to acid. I think that's fun.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's this? Shape self. As an action, you can reshape your body to give yourself a head, 1 or 2 arms, 1 or 2 legs, and makeshift hands and feet. Or you can revert to a limbless blob. While you have a human-like shape, you can wear clothing and armor made for humanoid of your size. As a bonus action, you can extrude a pseudopod that is up to 6 inches wide and 10 feet long, or reabsorb it into your body. As part of the same bonus action, you can use the pseudopod to manipulate an object, open or close a door or container, pick up or set down a tiny object. The pseudopod contains no sensory organs and can't attack, activate magic items, or lift more than 10 pounds. All right, so that's fine. But you can still create like a 10-foot pseudopod and just shove it in someone's mouth and suffocate them if you wanted. You know? Like,
right. Well,
you can use someone.
I mean, technically a mouth is an inch wide base.
Shut up right now.
You just jumped out someone's throat.
And you have resistance to stomach acid. Oh my god.
Honestly, my first thought is a monk that just doesn't wear any clothes and just goes and just punches things. Because you don't need weapons, you just run around. Or I guess you could use magic too. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But basically, go no clothes.
Right? Oh my god. That is so delightful.
Or at least no armor. Clothes is an inch wide. You can get clothes under a door. But
oh my gosh. There is, yeah, that's super delightful. Yep. I think that one will be a lot of fun to play, you know, especially like I would love to create like some sort of armor that is like essentially is just like a mesh armor that you can sort of keep internally, or you can sort of like shove it out of you, you know, like when you need to, like when you're heading into battle. And that way you can keep like your blob form if you want. It's just sort of a mesh bag. And go into battle doing your thing.
So funny.
I think that would be super fun. All right, so now we're getting to Thriken. Thriken is one of my favorite races. And the reason being because in 3.5, it was one of the psionic races. But in 3.5 also, Thriken had 4 arms. So you could wield 4 weapons if you wanted to at a time. It was lovely. So you could have like 2 shields and 2 weapons, or you could wield 2 two-handed weapons at a time. Like it was just, it was awesome. I loved it. So I would have like Thriken that literally were like their very own like Gatling gun, where it's just like you just had like bandoliers of daggers, and it would just be like 4 daggers around, like just whip. I love it.
Blizzard, I'm a Thriken main.
Let's see what they do now. Thriken have insectile features and 2 pairs of arms. Their bodies are encased in a protective chitin. They can alter the coloration of this carapace to blend in with their natural surroundings. Although Thriken don't sleep, they do require periods of inactivity to revitalize themselves. During these periods, they are fully aware of what's happening around them. Thriken speak by clacking their mandibles and waving their antennae, indicating to other Thriken what they are thinking or feeling. Other creatures find this method of communication difficult to interpret and impossible to duplicate. To interact with other folk, the Thriken rely on a form of telepathy. So they are so fabulous. Oh, you're a monstrosity. You're not a humanoid. Again, I love this.
What?
You can be an ooze. You can be a monstrosity. Delightful. You are medium or small. You choose your size when you select this race. Your walking speed is 30 feet. While you aren't wearing armor, your carapace gives you AC 13 plus Dex. Cool. As an action, you can change the color of your carapace to match the color and texture of your surroundings, giving you advantage on stealth checks made to hide in those surroundings. So you're like chameleon. Delightful. Secondary arms. You have 2 slightly smaller secondary arms below your primary pair of arms. The secondary arms can manipulate an object, open and close a door, container, pick up or set down a tiny object, or wield a weapon that has the light property. Yes, please. Oh my god. Grab somebody and just stab them over and over again with your little arms.
So
Oh my
the
God.
interesting thing about that is you don't have like extra ways to utilize those in combat at least. It gives you more options, but you know.
I mean, for me as a DM, I definitely would allow, like, if you're grappling somebody, that you can stab them with each dagger, you know, while you're grappling them. You know, if you've got little things.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have weapons in your hand, you know, like giving you advantage on grapple checks and stuff like that because you have 4 limbs, like just absolutely. Sleepless. You do not require sleep and remain conscious during a long rest, though you must still refrain from strenuous activity to gain benefit of the rest. Okay? And Thriken Telepathy. Without the assistance of magic, you can't speak the non-Thriken languages you know. Instead, you use telepathy to convey your thoughts. You have the magical ability to transmit your thoughts mentally to willing creatures you see within 120 feet of yourself. A contacted creature doesn't need to share a language with you to understand your thoughts, but it must be able to understand at least one language. Your telepathic link to the creature is broken if you and the creature move more than 120 feet apart. If either of you is incapacitated, or if either of you mentally breaks the contact, no action required. Okay, fabulous. So you've essentially got 120-foot telepathy. So that's delightful.
Yeah.
Love that.
Flizzard was saying you can have a sword and a shield and then use the other limbs for spell casting.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
That would be amazing for like a blade singer.
Yeah.
That would be huge for them. Oh my gosh. That's fabulous. Let's look. Yes, Uzmonk and Eric Ganassi. That's right. 100%. There is, yep, we've got bug boys. That's a thing. There is, you can battle mage and cast with shields. Yep, absolutely. I mean, my thing is, like, I would probably, if I were a mage, I wouldn't even have, like, ooh, you know what I talked to my DM about? Having, like, a quarterstaff ready to go as both a defensive and an offensive weapon in your big hands, and then having like 2 wands in your small hands, so you can just go pop, 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 be like a crazy wand caster that you can do like 2 spells in a round. I'd do it. Or you could just have 2 shields.
Yeah, I was thinking like 2 shield, like dual shields.
That would make me so happy. Oh my god. I do love a good Thriken. You make me happy with this WotC. Doesn't quite make up for the bullshit, like with the give and with your Adosi, but
yeah.
Yeah. And I think it is unfortunate that they were G and then H, so they both came one after the other. I was like,
not great.
Sadness for me. So I'm interested in WotC being better. I think that that's important. But I think for now, we're going to take a quick little break, and then we are going to go into how to actually adventure in the Astral Plane.
That sounds awesome.
I think that that is going to be super fun. Learning all the fun things makes me happy. So happy. Meow. Meow. And we'll see you in a little bit. Don't forget, hey, if you want to help us, get to our goal for the desk and all of that good, the desk and the chair and the bookshelf, all of that, feel free to run over to our Ko-fi and donate. Here is a link. Also, make sure that you are going and hydrating and being fabulous and doing all of the cool things that one needs to do to stay healthy and fabulous. Do not forget that there is, still a pandemic out there. So let's take care of ourselves and let's take care of each other. All right. And I will see you all in just a couple minutes.
Right.
Mwah.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to a fabulous Spelljammer, delightful stream here. We love it. we are going to be talking about the mechanics of Spelljammer today since it just dropped. I'm very excited about that. So let's jump right into it. So spelljamming is a little different because the mechanics of being in space are definitely a little different. There is what I'd like to do. I don't feel like we need to read absolutely everything, but let's do the majority of it so that we really have an understanding of what's going on.
Totally.
There is, so this is, oh my God, this picture, a tyrant ship. Absolutely. So for those who are not familiar with spelljamming, one of the things that I love about the lore is that there are these crazy places that exist. So even in the solar system of the Forgotten Realms, right, there is this spot that's like, I think there's like 8 planets that exist in the solar system of the Forgotten Realms, and one of the planets at the very outskirt of it, is this flat planet that has one giant spike coming out of it, and the spike always faces the sun, and it's got like 5 different like ports on it that are these giant port cities.
Yeah.
And it's run by beholders. It's a place where everyone's a fucking beholder, and they just allow ships, other kinds of ships, to dock, and they do business and they trade with these other spelljamming ships, but everyone's a beholder on the planet.
Like, everyone's a beholder on the planet, but other people and other races can go?
Because these beholders have learned to trade with other races, the same way that, like, you know, the one in Skullport runs a criminal enterprise. Like, they're not stupid. They understand trade, and they understand that they're powerful and they can get good deals from people. You know, so, and that they need things to survive. So I love that they now have a tyrant ship. That's going to be glorious. I cannot wait to see what they do with that. All right. So how spelljamming works. Spelljamming is the act of using a spelljamming helm, described later in the chapter, to propel and maneuver a ship. The individual that operates the helm is called a spelljammer. Lovely definition. Speed. When cruising through space, a spelljamming ship can travel 100 million miles in 24 hours, which is what you need because canonically, the space in a solar system in the universe of D&D is hundreds of billions of miles wide. So, like, so it will still take you. What if you're in realm space? It would still take you like years to get all the way across the solar system if you wanted to.
And just, do you know off the top of your head how close that is to like the speed of light?
So 100 million miles in 24 hours. The speed of light is, I think it's 144 trillion miles per second. 144 million miles a second. So I think it's still much less than the speed of light. What is it?
What is the exact speed of light? It is, it's 160,000 miles per second.
160,000. So miles. So it's not millions. It's just miles. 160,000.
But still,
160,000 miles per second. Okay.
But that's per second. There's a lot of seconds in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not faster.
It's like 1.44 million miles an hour or something like that. I think that might be where my calculation was coming from. Am I anywhere close to right on that?
I'm sorry. I was looking at the thing. I missed what your calculation.
I think it's like 1.44 million miles per hour.
Miles. It doesn't say miles per hour on this. It's 670 million miles per hour and some change.
So 671 million miles per hour. Okay, that is cool. We've got that. So I was completely off.
Yeah. That's
so
fair.
I'm a bad person. I think we all need to acknowledge that
good.
now.
You're good.
I'm a terrible human being. So you've got 100 million miles in 24 hours is nowhere near the speed of light. So that's fine. There's at this speed, the spelljamming helm makes minor course corrections on its own to avoid collisions with meteorites, other detritus, and space-dwelling creatures. These slight course corrections sometimes cause mild space sickness, which is a harmless affliction common among those who aren't accustomed to space travel. A spelljamming ship automatically slows to its flying speed when it comes close to something big enough to have its own air envelope and gravity plane, such as another ship. A Kindori, apparently that is something that we will discover in Boo's Astral Menagerie tomorrow, an asteroid or a planet. The exact distance between the obstacle and the ship is for the DM to decide, but whatever obstacle caused the ship to slow down is usually close enough to be seen by creatures on the deck. While moving at its flying speed, a spelljamming ship is generally as maneuverable as a seafaring vessel of a similar size. Okay, cool. Fabulous. I love that there's two sort of speeds. There's regular speed, which is where combat happens, and then there's light speed.
The fast speed.
The
light speed.
Everything. You go warp speed. Like you can do warp speed on these. Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. Which is what you would have to do to travel between solar systems.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So once you get into wild space, there should be like another speed, which is warp speed. So that would be fun. Let's see. So sensations. Using a spelljamming helm to move a ship produces a feeling in the spelljammer similar to moving a limb that has fallen asleep. A pins and needles sensation, though not as painful as its analog. When the ship approaches something large in space, the spelljammer is usually the first to detect it as the ship slows down. An experienced spelljammer can often sense what caused the ship to slow down a few moments before it can be seen. An asteroid feels different from a space galleon or a pod of Kindori, for example. Spelljammer duels. It's not combat, it's duels. A ship can have more than one spelljamming helm aboard it, but only one spelljamming helm at the time can be used to control the ship. Oh, this is a completely different thing than I thought it was. If a spelljammer tries to gain control of a ship by using a second spelljamming helm, a spelljammer duel ensues. Resolve this conflict by having each spelljammer make a constitution check. If the dueling spelljammers tie, have them reroll. The spelljammer with the lowest check results loses the duel and gains 1d4 levels of exhaustion. Damn! In addition, their attunement to their spelljamming helms ends at once, and they can't attune to any spelljamming helm until all levels of exhaustion are removed from them.
Dang.
Oh, okay.
So you just jump on a ship with your own spelljamming helm, and you out outmuscle the other person, and then they're without their spelljamming pilot, essentially.
Yeah, right? I mean, if you can, but the thing is that not all ships are going to have multiple helms.
Oh, okay.
So this is if two spelljamming helms are attached to one actual ship.
Oh, I kind of understood it as it's a device separate from the ship that you use to connect with the device, and it's not necessarily there's two on installed.
No, so spelljamming helms are magical items that are attached to a ship.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if there's multiple spelljamming helms on a ship, which there might be, you might have one for backup or something like that that's connected in case something goes wrong.
Okay.
Then you can do that. But Clockwork Horrors would probably spark a spelljamming duel when they try to take control.
No, okay, that makes sense. Okay. I was thinking it was an item that you you have your duelists that jump aboard other spelljamming ships with their spelljamming helm and try to muscle them out and then take control of the ship.
Absolutely. I think that there's got to be if there's not, I'm gonna create some spells that allow you to try to take control. They're a spelljammer of a spelljamming ship trying to cast charm or something on another spelljamming ship. You know, all that good stuff. All right, would you please go through air envelopes as I run downstairs real quick to grab something?
Yep.
I will be back in just a moment.
Totally. All right, air envelopes. When a creature or object leaves a planet's atmosphere and enters wild space, an envelope of breathable air forms around it and lasts until it's depleted. That's good because people would freaking run out of air and die. That's good. That's what they have. That so obviously this looks like a ship, so that's a pretty big air envelope. Air envelopes of creatures. The envelope of breathable air that forms around a creature takes the shape of a cube centered on that creature. The creature's size determines the cube's dimension, as shown in the air envelopes of creatures table. Okay, so basically depending on how big you are, you get a bigger envelope. So a creature that needs to breathe will exhaust their air at a person in 1 minute. Since this is barely enough time to go anywhere, most creatures travel through wild space aboard spelljamming ships, which have much larger air envelopes. Okay, so unless you don't need to breathe, unless you're like an auto gnome, then you can kind of like chill in space. But then, how do you not just float away? I don't know. I guess we'll ask Kyle when he comes back. Air envelopes of objects. Okay, so objects have air envelopes. Okay, the air envelope of breathable air that forms around an object extends out from its surface in equal distance to the longest dimension in its form. Okay, so for example, a 5,000 miles in diameter, a spherical planet rather, with 5,000 miles in diameter has an air envelope of 15,000 miles in diameter. Okay. So, look at this picture again. Okay. So essentially, it has its biggest thing around it in the... I'm fucking terrible at geometry. But it's big. It's like twice as big. Okay. An air envelope does not need to be spherical. For example, a block of wood 1 foot by 3 foot, or by 2 foot by 3 foot, is surrounded by more or less. Wait, so why do objects have air envelopes? Like a piece of wood has an air envelope? Why though? Anyway, the air envelope around a spelljamming ship typically is an ovoid. That's not a word I've ever seen before. I have a lot of questions about air envelopes, Kyle. I'm sure chat agrees with me and doesn't think I'm just dumb. Right, chat?
He's crazy.
No.
Give me just a moment. I'm going to...
Most of it makes sense, but some of it's kind of like, huh?
All right. Cool.
Welcome back.
Sorry, everybody. I have not eaten today. I need to go run and grab a little something. Before my blood sugar decided to plunk out.
Right? No, I feel that. Still got a little bit of banana bread.
So while I'm telling everybody to take care of themselves, I'm like, I should do the same.
Oh yeah, probably should.
Maybe don't kill yourself.
That's good. That's good.
All right, cool. So, let's look at air envelopes then. All right, an envelope of breathable air gets there. Size determines the air envelope.
Yeah, we got to objects.
Air envelopes of objects. The envelope of breathable air that forms when an object descends from the surface equal to the longest dimension of its form. A spherical planet 5,000 miles in diameter has an air envelope from its surface. Oh, it extends out from the surface of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
surrounds it. So it'd be like perfectly in the center, like
Yeah.
perfectly centered, because it has all the things. The thing that I was like, and then it's yeah. Continue.
So, air envelope of a habitable planet of moon is called an atmosphere. An atmosphere is a special kind of air envelope that replenishes itself constantly because of the biosphere. A creature or an object can refresh its air envelope by entering the atmosphere of a planet or a moon. Cool. Is that where there's so where the objects was it the
I'm like a block of wood is an air envelope.
So here everything because everything has gravity, that means everything gets air. But it will have a tiny little bit of air. So it's like when a spelljamming ship, let's say, like if it were to explode,
Okay.
all the little pieces of that spelljamming ship would have little air pockets around it. And if you got stuck out in, let's say, realm space and found this, you could use that little bit of air to replenish a little bit of yours. You know?
Okay. Or you find a really long plank of wood and use that to survive because it's really long and it's... So
Absolutely.
here's another question. So obviously I understand why planets, their atmosphere works the way it does. What about a spelljamming ship?
So in 3.5, there were definitely some fun things that they did with that, where it's like there are certain spelljamming ships or creatures that you could bring aboard spelljamming ships that would actually replenish the air for you.
Oh.
Okay. Certain creatures that like would breathe in the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen.
Like plant people, or you just bring plants?
Yeah, plant-based creatures. Sometimes like plants. Unless your spelljamming ship is all plants are not going to create enough oxygen.
Yeah, okay.
To replenish things.
Yeah.
They can keep things a little bright. If there was an entire ship that was just completely full of plants that were growing like crazy,
yeah,
and there was like one small person on it, maybe. But
so they have like specialized creatures essentially, is how they kind of got around it.
Yeah, or you had like the nautiloid ship, which was the nautiloid was an actual creature, and so it created its own air.
Oh, but then it would still use it, right? I mean, that doesn't necessarily solve it, though, right?
Well, so I think you're getting a little crunchy.
No, that's fine. I'm just curious.
Eventually, we're going to get down to the minutia, and it will be cause magic.
Sure. You know? I was trying to figure out at what point they were like, it just works. I'd be like, okay, I mean, that's fine. All right, so air quality.
They're essentially trying.
Yeah.
They're trying to create a situation where you can survive in space for a little bit.
Yeah.
So space doesn't need to be absolute zero, but it's not a vacuum.
Yeah. Okay.
Because either one of those situations, you just die.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah,
realm space
and
doesn't have air, but it's room temperature and air, and like while you need air, it's not a vacuum. So you have to bring air with you, but like your eyes aren't going to get like ripped out of your skull.
Right. And you could have creatures that are on non-enclosed ships in space not dying.
Well, for a while. Typically it lasts between 1 or 2 minutes.
Well, I meant like on the deck of a ship.
Yeah.
You know, like
because the ship's air.
Yeah, because the ship has a thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Kind of what they're aiming for. It does make like someone like Autognome like just that much more powerful.
Yep. Uh-huh.
And you know, interesting that they're like, hey, plasmoids, they need to breathe. So, but they can do an hour. They can do an hour, but they gotta breathe.
Right. Fire in wild space. Although non-magical fire cannot exist in the vacuum of wild space, it's not a vacuum. Magical fire, such as those created by the fireball spell, does burn in the background. Magical fire does not cause objects to burst into flame, however, because there is no air to make ignition possible. Here's a huge difference between what we are seeing in Spelljammer today and what we saw in Spelljammer from 3.5.
Yeah.
In 3.5, I think it was that, like, all fire spells were like maximized. They were done on a ship, and everything caught fire. Like, it would create, because this is a pocket of oxygen, fire spells would just destroy. They could not be controlled. So if you cast a fire spell, you were just as likely to get enveloped in fire as you were anyone else. So just no one ever used fire as a weapon. But they seem to have solved that here.
So they're like, it's magic. Burns normally.
Yeah. It's the ignition for it is not physical, it is a magical ignition, so that's fine.
Yeah. That's
right.
cool.
Let's see. I love that, Blizzard. How many bugs you get in your teeth when you're going that fast. All right, air quality. So we've got fresh air, foul air, and deadly air. Fresh air is completely breathable. Under normal circumstances, the air envelope of the ship remains fresh for about 120 days.
Okay,
cool. So, like, 4 months.
Yeah.
As you travel between some stars. Let's do it. Let's get into it. And then, but spelljamming ships can also just dip into the atmosphere of a planet and completely replenish themselves.
Yeah.
So
they probably chart a course to, like, stop and if they're going extra far.
If a ship carries more creatures than its normal crew complement, they exhaust the supply of the fresh air more quickly. That makes sense. Foul air is stale and partially depleted. It is human and it's humid and it smells bad. Okay, so things get swampy.
Yeah.
You get swamp ass.
Yeah, you get swamp ass.
All right. Any creature that breathes foul air becomes poisoned until it breathes fresh air again. The air aboard the ship with a normal crew component degrades from fresh to foul on day 121, and the foul air turns deadly 128 days. So you've got 8 months survivable. Deadly air is unbreathable. Any creature that tries to breathe deadly air begins to suffocate. Oh my god. Yeah, no, that's
after having to breathe for 4 months foul, stanky air, then you're just gonna suffocate.
Then you die.
Then die.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. When two bodies come close enough to each other, their air envelopes merge, and the quality of the air around the smaller body changes to match that of the larger body. When the body later moves away from each other, each one reclaims and retains its own air envelope, but it's already been fouled at that point.
Yeah.
So, like, I did a Spelljammer adventure recently over on Phoenix Iwaki's channel.
Yeah.
And it was, we ran into a ship that had been destroyed there. Its air envelope had gone foul. So thankfully we didn't get too close. So we didn't have our air foul, but that's a fun mechanic actually that I really liked. It would be like if you're all gonna die, you just ram your ship into it. You know.
I just thought if you have a pirate crew that's all immune to poison because of their race, and you just have foul air, and you just foul up the air of your enemies, and then attack them, that would be devastating. Holy shit!
That would be pretty fabulous.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. Whenever that, like, and if they would absolutely develop some sort of like gas that they could fill their atmosphere with that would be poisonous to everyone else, but not them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, whoop, foul their air.
Well, I'm thinking about like an autonome ship where they don't actually need to breathe. So the air would be deadly.
Oh, yeah.
They would just merge.
Oh, terrible autonome pirates. Oh
Those
God.
goddamn auto gnomes. They're total bitches.
Their mission is to plunder. Our creator made us to get treasure and plunder ships.
Oh my god. Let's see. For example, if a damselfly ship with foul air envelope enters the atmosphere of a planet with fresh air, the two air envelopes merge, and the damselfly ship's air quality changes from foul to fresh. This usually merges its fresh air envelope with a deadly air envelope surrounding a derelict ship. The damsel's air quality would change from fresh to deadly. Yeah. So that's fine.
So in order to change it, it has to be bigger or like the same size.
Mm-hmm. All right, give me some gravity planes, Lando.
Gravity planes. The reason everything pulls its own atmosphere along through space is the force of gravity. It's also the reason why creatures can't stand on the spacefaring, or the reason why creatures can stand on a spacefaring ship without falling off the deck. In wild space and on the astral plane, gravity is an accommodating force. In that the direction of its effect seems to be that which is most convenient. For an object the size of a planet or a moon, gravity pulls everything towards the center of the body, meaning no creature can stand upright anywhere. Meaning creatures can stand upright anywhere on the surface, and dropped objects fall perpendicular to the surface they land on. For smaller objects, such as spacecraft, gravity doesn't radiate from a point, but rather from a plane that cuts horizontally through the object and extends out as far as its air envelope. An object's gravity plane is two-directional. Creature can stand upright on the bottom of the ship's hull. It stand upside down from its perspective of those elsewhere on the ship, and move around as easily as they were walking on the top deck. Okay. The diagram shows the location of the gravity plane of the nautiloid by way of example, and indicates the direction in which its gravity operates. That's really, really interesting. So it's like the middle of the ship, but it's like instead of like the exact center, it kind of is like widened out. So you can like jump off the ship and then kind of like whoop underneath it.
Now, this is a little different for me because in the astral plane, normally gravity is subjective.
Okay.
So you can do whatever you want. Like gravity is wherever you want it to be. So you can decide the gravity is below you or above you. And if you decide gravity's up, then you start flying. Or if it's close to the ship, then gravity goes down. So that for me is a little, like for my home brewing, it'll be a little wonky there.
Sure.
But I do love the fact they explain that you can walk upside down and it's totally fine because the gravity plane is actually two-dimensional.
Yeah, that's super cool. One of the other unusual properties of the gravity plane is that an object that falls off the side of the ship can end up oscillating back and forth across the gravity plane. It drops in one direction until it crosses the plane, then reverses back towards the plane again, continuing until something causes it to stop. Is that it's kind of like it's like you know?
It's bobbing up and down.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
So things on the side of the sea look like they would in the ocean, as though they're bobbing up and down in the ocean.
Gotcha. Did you use that as like storage? Like you could have like stuff around your air envelope, like
sure, but
or whatever.
Most of it isn't going to stick around if it's not tied down.
Sure.
Like once you start moving, you're just going to leave it behind.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you jumped off the ship, you could go on the bottom, but you'd still be like thrown back. Like
no, it's the same. It's the same thing. Like so, you'd be on the bottom, and like if you're just moving normally, it's like because there is no air.
Yeah.
There's no resistance. Right.
Okay.
So that's the thing.
Oh, okay.
But if you're not, so if you're on the ship,
yeah,
there's no resistance, so you're not going to get shoved backwards.
Gotcha.
There is But if you're next to the ship, and the ship leaves, then there's nothing sort of tying you to the ship. And you can homebrew that like the gravity plane keeps the thing going alongside it, but in my world, like that wouldn't make sense.
Sure, that makes sense. You said booby traps. Yeah, you could set booby traps on the bottom of your ship, like spikes
Absolutely.
and things, and like throw people off the ship, and then have their gravity go, and just like have them hit the spikes on the bottom of the ship or something like that.
Right.
That'd be pretty cool.
Apparently, we're gonna need to make that happen, Lindo.
Oh yeah, that's honestly that's pretty sweet.
Terrible things. Hey, let's figure out all the worst things that we can do with all the new stuff. 100%.
Right? I mean,
That's
you know,
exactly what it's supposed to go.
All right. Overlapping gravity planes. When gravity planes intersect, such as when two ships pass close to each other and at different angles, the gravity planes of both ships remain in effect until the two ships touch one another, as often happens when they collide or when another ship lands on another. If that happens, the gravity plane of the ship that has more hit points remaining, regardless of the ship's actual dimension, overrides the other ship's gravity plane, suppressing it as long as their ships remain in contact. The first ship's definition of up becomes the other ship's definition as well.
So we dealt with this in the Spelljammer thing that we did a couple weeks ago, or last week, with Phoenix Iwaki, where before we started the adventure, I looked at them and I looked at I ended up being the captain, and I looked at my Spelljammer and I was like, listen, if we get into a battle, remember, this is not a two-dimensional fight. You have to think in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
If I had known this rule, the overlapping gravity planes, it would have been the end of the initial thing, like immediately, because we swept down and then came back up and then slammed this other ship from underneath. And what should have happened is, because the plane now became our plane, if they were at the other ends of the ship, they would have all slammed to the center of the ship.
Yeah.
Suddenly doing crazy damage to them. So.
Yeah. I think so. If you went nose to nose, nothing would change. If you went up to down, it would be the same. Like, I guess if you went like sideways. Yeah, I'm like thinking, is there a way to fling people off of their ships? I'm like, not.
I mean, you could shove them. No, essentially what would happen is that it would just, it would always move people towards the center of the ship.
Yeah.
Because that's how gravity works.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, let's see. Drifting. When a Spelljammer ship moves in space, creatures and objects in its air envelope move with it. Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
The floating thing aside from it. All right. Pulled along the ship because of the strength of its gravity plane. However, an unanchored creature or object floating in a ship's air envelope is weightless and drifts towards the edge of the air envelope at a speed of 10 feet per minute. Okay. For example, an unconscious sailor or a crate that falls off the deck of a spelljamming ship would begin drifting away from the ship along its gravity plane towards the edge of the ship's air envelope. When it exits the air envelope, the sailor or the crate would be left behind as the ship moves away. Cool.
That's still, at least according to the diagram above, that's still like 16 minutes of drifting. Like, that's pretty slow. Like, you got lots of time.
So you would have plenty of time.
Yeah.
You have plenty of time to go grab it. Absolutely.
That's good.
Let's see. A floating creature that enters the air envelope of a larger body is immediately affected by the larger body's gravity, such that of a planet or gravity plane. The creature falls from where it entered the air envelope to the surface of that body, or to the gravity plane of that body, whichever is nearer. Normal damage from the fall applies to the creature hits something solid at the end of the fall. The creature knows that falls across the gravity plane takes no damage from the fall, but begins oscillating from one side of the grass, so they begin bobbing if they don't hit something. All right.
Yeah.
right, let's see the Astral Plane. This should be new and exciting. Let's see if it is.
Ooh, that's a cool graphic. There's a lot of stuff I don't really get.
Let's see, Realm Space, Wild Space System, Wild Space System, Astral Dominion, Dead God, Doom Space. All right, there's some new stuff here. I'm excited. All right. Let us see. Lando, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Every world of the material plane is situated in wild space, or more precisely, in its own wild space system. Wild space systems are airless oceans teeming with space-dwelling life forms, including spores, space plankton, and larger creatures that resemble fish or aquatic mammals. The ones that need air to survive either generate their own air envelopes or live in air envelopes of other creatures. Oh, so you got like some symbiotic relationships going on with some. Well, okay, so yeah, so these are just kind of, I think it's just kind of like, oh, here's an example of like, you have these pockets of, what is it?
Yeah. So wild space is where the astral plane overlaps with the material plane.
Okay.
Creatures and objects in wild space are age normally and exist in both planes simultaneously. Okay, so in wild space you age, right? This overlap enables creatures to use such spells as like teleport and teleportation circle to travel from wild space to a nearby world or vice versa. Okay, diagram 2 illustrates how the astral sea surrounds all the wild space systems, as well as the astral dominions of gods and the floating remains of dead gods. Many wild space systems have names. For example, Realm Space is a wild space system that contains, among other things, the planet Toro, home of the Forgotten Realm setting. The following section describes how astral travelers can get from one wild space system to another, as well as features from the astral plane that are likely to come into play. Astral dominions and dead gods. Many gods have dominions in the astral sea. These locations typically take the form of floating islands or cities of fantastic proportions. Astral travelers might visit these dominions as they would any other ports of call, though a dominion's divine ruler always knows when visitors have arrived and what their intentions are. Because these dominions are part of the astral sea, they are timeless. Nothing ages there, and creatures can survive there indefinitely without food or drink. The astral sea is also where one can find petrified remains of gods who were slain by more powerful entities, or who lost all of their mortal worshippers and perished as a result. A dead god looks like a gigantic, nondescript stone statue that bears little resemblance to the divine entity it once was. Githyanki, mind flayers, Surlons, and other natives of the astral plane sometimes turn these drifting hulks into outposts and cities, many of which are hollowed out beneath the surface. So that's fun.
Oh, that's cool.
I like it. All right. Creating a wild space system. A typical wild space system has a sun plus a number of planets and moons orbiting. Two examples of wild space systems, Doom Space and Xerxes Space, are described in the accompanying adventure Light of Xerxes. Use them as models when creating your own wild space systems. Travel between the worlds. World-to-world travel requires a spelljamming ship, a teleport spell, or some other kind of magic. Within a wild space system, the DM must decide how long it takes a spelljamming ship to travel from one world to another. This task is made easier if the DM has a diagram that shows how far away each world is from the center system. Using such a diagram, you can calculate the shortest possible voyage and the longest possible voyage when the two worlds are as far apart as they can be. You're going to ask something?
Oh yeah, I was going to say, is the wild space systems kind of like what they replaced crystal spheres with?
Yeah, well, there was always the space for the solar system, but now there isn't something separating it from the astral sea anymore. So they just got rid of the phlogiston and the crystal sphere.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's just kind of all connected. Because I'm just curious, like, they're talking about the teleport spell, like, so I understand correctly. So it's like you could teleport from like, a world to like Arborea? Like that counts? Or is it something different?
Is it?
Like you could if we incorporated what they're talking about here in terms of the use of the teleport spell, you could technically teleport from our world to Arborea?
No,
Okay.
not even close. No.
Okay.
So what you're dealing with is you're dealing with planes and then the astral sea.
Sorry,
So
not
what they-
Arborea. No, sorry, not Arborea. What is the one with all the Warforge that I can't think of? The
Eberron.
Eberron. That's what I meant. Eberron.
It sounds like I want to read a little further before I answer that definitively.
No, sure. I was just curious, kind of what they were, because yeah, it seemed kind of
Travel
vague.
between systems. A creature or ship that wants to travel from one wild space system to another must cross the astral sea, unless it has some other means of traveling from one world in the multiverse to another. Wild space systems aren't fixed in certain locations in the multiverse. Because they're constantly in motion, like corks bobbing in the water, no reliable device exists to help plot a course from one wild space system to another. Fortunately for travelers, the nature of the astral sea makes journeys relatively easier, as discussed in the next session. The astral sea not only has gravity, but also breathable, comfortable air. But is the air real, or does this heavenly realm merely trick creatures into thinking they're breathing? In the astral sea, one can never be certain. All that really matters is that a creature can survive indefinitely in the astral sea, never aging and never feeling hunger or thirst. Tracking time in wild space. Local time varies from world to world and from one wild space system to the next, depending on rotational periods, custom, and the host of other factors. Astral travelers often rely on what is considered the standard way of keeping time. A standard day is 24 hours long, a standard week is 7 standard days, and a standard month is 4 standard weeks, 28 standard days. The typical method of determining the length of a year, the amount of time passes during a complete cycle of the seasons, has no meaning or usefulness for individuals who spend most of their time on the astral plane. For this reason, astral travelers avoid using years as a measurement of time. Love that. Travel by thought alone. A creature doesn't need a vessel to travel through the astral sea. In this realm, a traveler has the option of propelling itself by thought alone. The more intelligent a creature is, the faster it can move. A creature that chooses to move in this fashion can only move in any direction at a flying speed equal to 5 times its intelligence score. Astral sea navigation. One doesn't need a map to navigate the astral sea. Here, all creatures are blessed with directional awareness. In other words, a creature can get to where it wants to by thinking of its destination, at which point it becomes aware of the most direct route to the location. The destination must be somewhere in the astral sea or in wild space, such as the nearest Githyanki outpost, the astral dominion of Hestavar, or realm space. The directional awareness does not reveal how safe the route is, and the DM decides how far away the destination, how perilous the trek to the astral sea. So, my understanding of this,
I'm confused,
is that essentially the astral sea has replaced the phlogiston.
Okay.
So now you have wild space.
Yeah.
Or realm. So realm space, I thought that realm space and wild space were different things. They are not.
Okay.
Wild space is, so in our world, on the Patchwork planet, it might be patchwork space or wisdom space or reef space or something like that. So that is, so, and essentially, instead of the phlogiston outside our crystal sphere is the astral sea.
Okay.
So that's what happens. So essentially, deep space is the astral sea. You are, once you escape the wild space, you just automatically, it sounds like, transition into the astral realm physically, which means you have gone to a different plane of existence.
Okay. So to recap, so make sure I understand. So the place you need the ships is closer to your own planets, or like your own systems. But then as you go further out, you get into this kind of like the astral sea, where you kind of could just breathe and you do your own thing. And so,
yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like having a Spelljammer ship in the astral sea would be super useful because you can go 100 million miles an hour.
Sure. But like the air envelopes aren't as important, and all that stuff. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and gravity then becomes whatever direction you want gravity to be.
Okay.
All that kind of stuff.
So really, the air envelopes and that stuff is more like, I mean, I guess you kind of just, make it up in terms of how far from like your destinations. It's like you have like these pockets of stuff that doesn't have air, but then the rest of the space is in between those pockets. have air and are the astral sea, essentially.
So do you know what an Oort cloud is?
I've heard of the name.
So Oort
And
cloud, spelled OORT,
okay.
is it's essentially an envelope around our actual solar system
Okay.
on our Earth.
Oh.
What it is you've got like the solar system, right?
Yep.
And because of the solar winds, essentially the pressure that the sun is putting on everything else by shooting out particles from its surface, it moves things, sort of pushes things away that are not caught directly in its gravity.
Oh.
And that has created a shell around our solar system where it's like these things are just on the edge of the sun's gravity, but also just on the edge of being pushed away. It's created essentially if you were to look at it from billions of miles away, would be like probably an ellipsoid covering for the solar system.
Gotcha.
It is
Okay.
literally just like rocks and ice and things like that that are just barely carried by the sun's gravity. There is, imagine that everything inside it for us, that would be wild space.
Gotcha.
And then once you pass the Oort cloud, you're no longer under the effects of the star's gravity. That becomes the astral sea.
Gotcha. And then there's other pocket or other solar system-esque pockets.
Yeah. So
that you
each
could travel.
star has its own wild space and its own Oort cloud.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
then
Sweet.
Yeah.
That was actually really, really helpful because I was like, yeah. Because it was like, we talked about this one thing that felt universal, and then they're like, well, actually, you could breathe here, you could do this stuff. I'm like, huh? Like, so, okay,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay.
There's, so yes, so that's what that looks like. So I would say, no, you absolutely cannot teleport from one wild space to another.
You can teleport within it.
Like yeah, you can teleport within it, but I would say, like, one of the things about teleport is you have to sort of know where you're going.
Yeah.
And if you've never been to another planet, and the planet is moving as all planets do, like our planet is rotating at 1,000 miles an hour right now. You know, we don't feel it because we're used to it and because gravity. But we are also traveling at thousands of miles an hour around the sun.
Yeah.
And so there's things, it's a very interesting sort of concept when you deal with like someone like Nightcrawler from the X-Men, who their power is to teleport. Well, he also must be the most genius mathematician in the fucking universe, because if he were just to teleport like half an inch, he would actually end up in outer space. Because in the time it would take him to teleport, the Earth would have moved a couple of miles, you know? And so so he has to calculate exactly where on the Earth's rotation, how to stay in the place that he wants and moving through three-dimensional space. Because if you actually look at a real diagram of the solar system, most of them, it looks like the sun and then a flat plane of planets, right?
Yeah.
What it actually is, because the sun is moving, it is rotating around the galactic center, right? And so the sun is moving very fast, and it's the sun, and there's like 8 planets that are all sort of trailing in a spiral behind it.
Yeah,
is essentially what it looks like. So you would also have to deal with the fact that the sun is moving, and so the planet is moving not only around the sun, but with the sun, and that the galaxy itself is moving very, very quickly. So you would have to calculate where the galaxy is moving, where the sun is moving, where the planet is moving, and how the planet is rotating in order to teleport someplace effectively. So for me, if you tried to teleport to another planet, there's just no way to do it. Like, you would have to get on a ship and get there. You could try, but I would ensure that you either ended up in the center of the planet or, you know, like on the surface of the sun or something. Like, you just have no idea.
But just for the purposes of what we've read so far, technically they hand wave all that and say you can.
I mean, rules is written. No,
Okay.
because teleportation spells specifically require, like a teleportation circle requires there's another circle.
Sure. I mean, there's way you can technically teleport to a place you've never been, but there's the chance you'll.
There's a huge chance that you're not gonna, that you're gonna be, when you're dealing with a planet. There's like, it's like there's a huge chance that you'll be up to like 100 miles away from where you want to end up. And what that could mean if you're trying to teleport to another planet is that you are 100 miles off the planet's surface.
Right.
You know, or you are 100 miles underneath the planet's surface. Like that's what that looks like. I think if a DM wanted to allow you to do that, absolutely,
sure,
you totally can.
I was just curious what WotC was saying in terms of like, you know, I mean, we have our own homebrew, and I totally am like that's fine and fair. But I was curious.
WotC's just saying that sure, it's possible to teleport to other planets, but that does not negate the rules of teleportation.
Sure, you know? No, that 100% makes sense.
Sorry, I'm chewing.
Oh yeah, gotcha. I thought you were about to say something. I was like, oh, like he's moving his hands and he's all in. I'm like what is he got?
Well, it's one of the reasons that like I feel like it's important to differentiate what kind of conversation you're having about things. If you are having a rules is written conversation, or if you are having a rule of cool conversation, right?
100%.
Because a lot of disagreements happen when somebody who is a rules is written person enters a rule of cool conversation, and vice versa. And that's when feelings get hurt and things like that, or when arguments break out. And so it's why I will shift back and forth between the two. But if a question is asked, rules is written, I will deal with rules is written for every aspect of that question, you know, and not do some aspects as rules is written and some aspects.
Sure, because that gets confusing. I was more asking in terms of like what trying to understand what WotC was intending in terms of why they included that
those
specific
are totally
thing in.
That's a huge question, and it's two very distinct questions. What is WotC intending, and what did WotC write down? You know,
sure,
like,
those are two different. Yeah, a lot of times those are.
You know, I'm sure that with the GIF, WotC was intending a cool hippo race. What we came up with accidentally is a murderous gun-toting hippo race, which I guess makes sense because hippos are some of the most violent creatures.
They are. They are
so mean.
They're so violent. Oh my gosh, yeah, it's bad.
They're so territorial, and like more people are killed by hippos than are killed by, like, I want to say it's something that like the top 10 other creatures on the planet.
It's
like
mosquitoes. Other than mosquitoes.
Well, no, so I'm thinking large predators.
Sure, yeah. Oh, 100%. Oh, easily.
You know, and it's just they're mean.
They're so mean.
So I guess if any animal could hold a gun and would,
it would probably be a hippo.
It would be a hippo. Okay.
That's fair. Okay, we hear you.
You got me. Got me that one. Still not super happy about it.
Yeah, don't love it, but oh man.
Right. Oh my god. That is such an interesting game. What animal would pick up a gun first?
Yeah, like
I feel like it would be either like a hippo or like a wolverine or something.
Like we're not talking about like intelligence. We're just talking about just pure, just like violent tendencies. Just temperament. Yeah. Maybe like a moose. Moose are really mean too.
Yeah, moose.
Moose are so mean.
What's it with the big herbivores that are like, I hate everyone? Right. I guess if you've been hunted for millions of years and eventually you'd just get tired and be like,
you're just done.
Get off my lawn. Get off my fucking lawn. Like
you're done.
Absolutely.
You're done.
All right, let's look at temperature. The ambient temperature on the astral plane is about the same as on a moderate summer day in the temperate region of most worlds. Since there are no seasons in wild space of the astral sea, this temperature remains constant for all times. Some wild space systems, however, have significantly higher or lower temperatures. Prince space, for example, has a very low natural temperature, about 16 degrees Fahrenheit, so below freezing.
Yeah.
And clouds of ice particles swirl in the vacuum within its boundaries. Of course, as one approaches a star that puts out heat, that ambient temperature increases. So that's really interesting for like Prince space. Like if you entered it, there would be a point where you would start getting ice storms in space because as the ice melts, it releases energy and you would start creating convection currents where you would have like the things that are closer to this are putting off heat that would shove ice away as it expands. And then that would pull in as you're creating these convection currents, it would pull more ice in, creating like a wall essentially that is a giant ice storm at all times at a certain spot in wild space, where everything on one side is completely frozen and everything on the other side is actually is not. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I find that really interesting. Okay. Cool. I like it. Fun with physics.
Yeah, right?
Let's see. Oh, what is this astral fishing? Fishing is a popular pastime in wild space and the astral sea, though this activity is impossible aboard a ship that is moving faster than its flying speed. Wild space settlements sell basic fishing equipment for 1 silver piece. For that, you get a pole, a line, a hook, and either a lure or some bait. At the end of each hour spent fishing, a character can make a DC 15 Wisdom Survival check. A failed check indicates no fish is caught during that hour. On a successful check, roll a 1d10 and consult a fishing table to determine the catch. So I feel like if you're on an astral, like if you're on a Spelljammer, essentially like animals will just suddenly get caught in the air bubble. So
well, this says if you're not moving faster than your flight speed.
Yeah. So flight speed is different than spelljamming speed.
Yeah.
So flight speed is just if the spelljammer is moving.
Yeah.
Normally. So you could absolutely go through a school of fish and like have a bunch of them suddenly get caught in your gravity plane. 100%.
Oh, totally.
Let's see what you can catch. A tiny inedible fish, a creature that will poison you for an hour. A tiny edible fish that'll feed 1 person. One that will feed 4 people. A hostile space eel that you have to beat up first, and then it'll feed 12 people. A hostile gray scaver, which feeds up to 20 people. Or other things and creatures that fall into your air bubble. Lovely. All right, weightlessness. In any location where gravity isn't present, the following rules apply. Impeded melee. When making a melee attack with a weapon, a creature that doesn't have a flying or swimming speed has disadvantage on the attack roll unless the weapon deals piercing damage. Okay? Movement. A creature can use an action to push off something heavier than itself and move up to its walking, flying, or swimming speed in a straight line. The creature continues along this course, moving in a straight line at its speed on the end of each of its turn, or until something stops it or changes its trajectory. So that's fun. So you don't actually have to use your movement. So you just do, like, you jump off, you push off of something, and you can literally go for days, forever if you want to, in a certain direction, just seeing what's going on. Let's see. Magic functions in the astral plane as it does in most of the D&D settings. Following sections present spells and magic items that are popular among astral travelers. So spells, here's a new one, air bubble, fabulous.
Sense.
Ooh, and create spelljamming helm. What is this? Oh. All right, so air bubble lasts for 24 hours, delightful. You create a spectral globe around the head of a willing creature. You see within range, and the range is 60 feet. The globe is filled with fresh air that lasts until the spell ends. If the creature has more than 1 head, the globe of air appears around only one of its heads, which is all the creature needs to avoid suffocation. Cool. At higher levels, when you cast a spell using a slot of 3 level higher, you can create 2 additional globes of fresh air for each spell slot above second. Cool.
And
now create spelljamming helm. It's a 5th level spell. It costs 5,000 gold pieces. Totally makes sense because spelljamming helms can be sold for like 25,000. You know, like they are massively powerful. Holding the rod used in the casting of the spell, you touch a large or smaller chair that is unoccupied. The rod disappears and the chair is transformed into a spell-jamming helm. All right, cool. I'm into it.
So, again, going back to my other kind of comment, you could go on someone's ship, find a chair, and turn that chair into a spell-jamming helm, and then bully the other spelljammer off their ship.
Absolutely, you could totally do a stealth mission.
Yeah,
that would be delightful.
That'd be super cool.
Let's see. Fish suit. Well, but a spelljamming helm requires attunement, which means you would have to spend an hour. So you'd have to be there and be undiscovered for a full hour casting the spell. How long does the spell take to cast? It's instantaneous. Okay.
Instantaneous.
Oh, one action. All right, let's look at some magic items. A fish suit. This bulky suit, which encases the head and the body, takes 1 minute to don or doff. While worn, it enables you to breathe in an airless environment and renders you immune to the harmful effects of any gas that surrounds you. The suit also grants you a swimming speed equal to your walking speed while underwater, or a flying speed equal to your walking speed in an environment with no gravity. Ooh, that's fun. I like that. Look at these spelljamming helms. I am 100% here for it.
Right.
I love that. It's a rare, wondrous item that requires attunement. The function of this ornate chair is to propel and maneuver a ship on which it has been installed through space and air. It can also propel and maneuver a ship on water or underwater, provided the ship is built for such travel. The ship in question must weigh 1 ton or more. The sensation of being attuned to a spelljamming helm is akin to pins and needles. The effect one experiences after one's arms are let fall asleep, but not as painful. While attuned to spelljamming helm and sitting in it, gaining the following abilities for as long as you maintain concentration. You can use the spelljamming helm to move a ship through space, air, or water up to the ship's speed. If the ship is in space and no other objects weighing 1 ton or more are within 1 mile of it, you can use the spelljamming helm to move the vessel fast enough to travel 100 million miles in 24 hours. You can steer the vessel, albeit in a somewhat clumsy fashion, in much the way a rudder or oars can be used to maneuver a seafaring ship. At any time, you can see and hear what's happening on or around the vessel as though you were standing in a location of your choice aboard it. All right, transfer attunement. You can use an action to touch a willing spellcaster. That creature attunes to the spelljamming ship immediately, and your attunement ends. Cost of a spelljamming helm. A spelljamming helm propels and steers a ship much as its sails, oars, and rudders work on a seafaring vessel, and a spelljamming helm is easy to create if one has the proper spell. Has material component cost of 5,000 gold pieces, so that's the least one can pay to acquire a spelljamming helm. So any spelljamming helm will cost at least 5,000 gold pieces.
Yeah,
is what they're saying. Wild space merchants, including Dawars and Mercanes, typically sell a spelljamming helm for substantially more than the cost to make it. However, how much more depends on the market, but 7,500 gold pieces would be a reasonable demand. A desperate buyer in the seller's market might pay 10,000 gold pieces or more. So that's fun. Oh, what's this? Wild Space Orrery.
Oh.
Yay. Inside a wild space system, this portable arcane device automatically tracks the positions and movement of all suns, planets, moons, and comets within that system, projecting a display of all these bodies in the space above its current location. And that display, a white pulsating pinprick of light, marks the orrery's location. I love that.
That's super, super good.
I want it now.
Yeah.
I want it, Lando.
That's a necessity.
Let's see. Oh, I love this, how like you can use actual astral projection to see a spelljamming ship. That's fabulous. Let's see what's going on with spelljamming ships, shall we?
Let's do it.
I'm starting to get tongue-tied. Spelljamming ship.
Right.
Spelljamming ship.
Oh.
All right, let's see. Crew. A standard crew complement for a spelljamming ship includes 1 captain to give orders, 1 spelljammer to pilot the ship, and one or more crew members to operate its weapons. Some ships carry extra crew, such as troops and backup spelljammers or passengers. A ship that has more than one standard crew complement will degrade the quality of its air supply more quickly. A spellcaster typically charges at least 50 gold pieces per day to operate a spelljamming helm. All right.
All right.
So 10 days, that's 500. So after 100, so like essentially a little over 3 months, you could earn enough to get like a very rare magic item. Because those are like 5,000 gold normally, right? 5,000 or up. Am I thinking rare item? Are rare items 5,000? Uh-huh. And then very rare is like 25,000.
It really depends on your economy and your world.
Yeah.
If you make gold scarce, it doesn't matter. What? Yeah, it depends.
All right, let's see. Ship-to-ship combat. Ooh.
Oh.
The following rules are designed to make ship-to-ship combat simple yet exciting. At the start of an engagement, the DM decides how far the ship is from its enemies. 3 possibilities are provided in the starting encounter distance table. The shorter the distance, the less time crews have to load weapons and make other preparations. 250 feet is long range for ballistae, mangonels, short bows, longbows, light crossbows, and heavy crossbows. 500 feet is long range for longbows and mangonels, beyond the range of most ballistae and crossbows. And 1,000 feet is beyond the range of most ranged weapons. So, yeah, with 250 feet, you can just start shooting at people immediately and doing crazy damage. Initiative. The Dungeon Master Guide presents a variant called Side Initiative, which is ideal for ship-to-ship engagement, since it saves you the trouble of tracking initiative for individual creatures aboard each ship. Shipboard weapons. Spelljammer ship typically has one or more shipboard weapons, ballistae, mangonels being the most common. Such weapons are slow to load and fire. Player characters are almost always better off using their own weapons and spells in ship-to-ship combat, reserving shipboard weapons for targets that are too far away to be damaged by other means. So, the argument that I will make is there are plenty of delightful ways that you can create magical ballistae, magical catapults, things like that, that if you're going to invest a shitload of money into a spelljammer ship, you might think about doing crazy things with your weaponry.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what I look at is I think about, like, could I create, like, a series of, like, 4 or 5 chambered things that, like, if you are a wizard, you can just touch this thing, apply some magical energy, and then crank it, and 5 wands will all fire within the same round, you know? So it could absolutely be, because, like, what's a super long range spell? Like Magic Missile is like 120 feet, isn't it?
I think 120 feet's probably the max. I think Spell Sniper gets you maybe the 300.
Yeah,
something like that. But that's like,
so I would
that's
love
an outlier.
To create, like a wand, like a wand blaster that has like 5 slots, and what you have to do is what it does is it like amplifies the length or the distance that you can shoot a wand, you know, to 300 feet. And so in one round, you can actually cast all 5 things in a wand. Like, it has to be something like, those would be like, has to be like a single target, you know, item, something like that. So you couldn't do things like Fireball, you know. It would have to be something like maybe Scorching Ray.
Yeah,
or
like that.
Yeah, things like that, where it's like, it would have to be specific things, but you slot in whatever ones you want, and then you crank it.
You just crank it out.
It sucks, like, you know, like the magical energy out of you, but you can cast them all in the same round at 300 feet, you know, things like that. Yeah. I think that something like that would be super fun.
I was also thinking of, like, you know, manipulating the gravity of your ship. So essentially, you don't need sails. Like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you could have a ship that the top side is like normal, and then the bottom side is like super heavily armored, and you have all these like kill holes. And so basically you flip your ship over, everyone goes and then gets in like this like armored area and starts shooting spells from like these like kill slits and just like, you know, all this stuff. And then basically the other people have to come underneath in order to get there because there's no entrances from the top.
I mean, I love what we got to do in our little spell jamming adventure, where literally like a catapult full of slod are
Right.
just flung at a ship,
Right?
you know, just because that's the thing too. It's like you could literally load like a mammoth into a giant catapult and just send them to go, or like just like shoot over a whole bunch of giant space hamsters.
Yeah. Or just
You know?
angry GIF.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Tell them, hey, those guys would take away your guns and just throw them.
Oh my god. A Spelljammer can use the ship's Spelljamming help to move and steer the ship without expending their own actions or movement. Oh, cool. On their turn, the Spelljammer determines how far the ship moves and decides whether to approach another ship with more distance between the two. On its turn, a ship can be turned and reoriented so that all its weapons can aim and fire at any target within range, regardless of where they're situated on deck. So you could like spin the Spelljammer ship around over and over again.
Yeah.
When one ship moves within 5 feet of another ship, a Spelljammer or pilot of the moving ship can maneuver it alongside the other ship, enabling creatures to move safely from one ship's deck to the other ship's deck until one of the ships pulls away from the other. A ship that has enough movement can pull alongside another vessel, deploy a boarding party, and move away, provided the members of the boarding party took the ready action to position themselves so they can move onto the other vessel when it's close enough. Fabulous.
Yeah.
Crashing. A Spelljammer can run their ship into another object or creature by moving the ship into the target space and making a special attack roll. 1d20 plus the Spelljammer's proficiency bonus against the target's armor class. If the attack roll hits, a crash occurs. Otherwise, the target moves out of the ship's path, avoiding the crash. If the DM decides that a crash is avoidable, no attack roll is necessary and the crash occurs automatically. When a spelljamming ship crashes into something that could reasonably damage it, both the ship and the creature or object struck take bludgeoning damage based on the size of the struck object, as shown in the crash damage table. If the ship runs into something that doesn't have hit points, such as a planet or a moon, apply the damage only to the ship.
Imagine doing hit points or damage to the moon.
Oh my god, I would love that. That's so crazy. Yes, please. After resolving the effects of the crash, determine whether the ship's gravity plane is suppressed. If the suppression of the ship's gravity plane would cause the creature on or inside the ship to fall, they fall in whatever direction is appropriate for the sudden change in gravity. To determine the damage from the fall, see falling rolls for place. Okay. Crash damage, a large object is 4d10. Huge object is 8d10. A gargantuan object, which is probably what most spelljamming ships are, a gargantuan is 16d10. That's a lot of fucking damage.
Yeah.
Ship repairs. Non-magical repairs to a damaged ship can be made while the vessel is berthed. Repairing one hit point of damage to a berthed ship takes 1 day and costs 20 gold pieces for material labor. Oh my god.
Oh, that's so...
It's so slow.
20 gold.
Yeah.
How much hit points? Well, I guess we'll find out how much.
They normally have like 400, I think. Damage to shipboard weapons can be repaired just as quickly, 1 hit point per day.
Just as quickly?
The mending spell is a cheaper, less time-consuming way to make repairs. Casting mending on a damaged ship or shipboard weapon restores a number of hit points equal to the target equal to 1d8 plus the spellcaster's spellcasting ability modifier. The target can regain hit points from this spell no more than once per hour. So with that situation, you've got like a maxed out spellcaster. It's going to be 1d8, so somewhere between 6 and 13 hit points per hour is what they can do.
That's a lot better than 1 day and 20 gold per hit point.
That's so crazy.
Like, all right, make sure someone knows mending.
Let's look now. Here we have got.
There's a lot.
Our ships. There's a whole bunch. So we're going to start with the bombard. Bombards are built by GIF. The major feature of each ship. First of all, please send in chat any questions that you have. If you're confused about any of this stuff, if we can clarify any of this for you or anything like that, let us know. That's the whole point of this, is to help everybody understand spelljamming a little bit better so that we can all play with it. Bombards are built by GIF. The major feature of each ship is an enormous cannon that fires massive cannonballs capable of blowing other ships to smithereens. The cannon is included in the cost of the ship. A bombard can carry up to 14 giant cannonballs, each of which weighs 10 tons. These cannonballs make up most of the weight of the ship's cargo. A winch mounted on the aft deck is used to load the cannonballs on board. A bombard can float and sail on water, but it can't land safely on the ground. Its keel would cause it to roll on its side. Okay. It has an armor class of 15, cargo of 150 tons, 12 crew. It's 140 feet long, 35-foot fly speed. Damage threshold is 20. So here's something that you need to know about battling ships and objects.
Yep.
There's always a damage threshold. If you do not get to the damage threshold, no damage is done.
And that's per attack?
Yeah. So every individual attack. So you can't like add up all the attacks for a round and see. It's
Sure.
Every individual attack has to hit that threshold. And if it doesn't, no damage is done. And then once the damage is done, only the damage above the threshold is actually calculated.
Gotcha.
So it's like, you know, if you do 50 damage, then really it's only 30 damage to this thing. All right, so we've got a fun little.
Oh, they even
yeah, they set
it out.
Yep. So that you can actually take this and you can have a little fight on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm here for it. And it costs 50,000 gold pieces. All right.
I mean, it's basically a giant gun.
Yeah, it's got 2 ballistae. Lovely. And the giant cannon. All right, what does the giant cannon do? It's every cannonball costs 1,000 gold pieces. That is insane.
That is insane.
You better and the thing is that okay, so what I don't like about this is again, I feel like they are doing the gift dirty here. Like they are just doing them so dirty. Is if you blow something up, how do you even collect the treasure?
Right?
Like, where are you making your money to spend 1,000 gold on every friggin' cannonball?
Yeah, you just have these massive cannonballs. Yeah, you destroy the ship, but then what?
I'm not here for it. Let's see. It takes 3 actions to load the enormous cannon and 1 action to fire it. You can only do it once every 4 rounds.
Well, there's 4 crews, so each if they all work together, they can fire it. At least that's what I'm thinking.
But that takes 4 crew members. That's insane. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Its range is 600 feet close range, 2,400 feet long range, and it does 16 D10 bludgeoning.
Okay. That's.
How many hit points does this thing have?
3.
So this has 300 hit points.
You can take.
Oh my god.
Take 3. It'll be okay. That's
unacceptable. All right. Damselfly ship.
Yeah. All right. Let's
move
on.
The ship is made mostly of metal. It can't float on water, but its legs enable it to land safely on the ground. A sliding hatch just behind the wings allows access to the ship's mangonel turret. The ship's cargo hold can easily be turned into crew cabins or another weapon deck. Damselfly ships are often used as courier vessels and armored transports. Explorers and pirates like them because they're fast and sturdy. Military leaders use them as command ships for the same reason. Damselfly ships owners are a proud lot, fond of painting their ships in colorful patterns as well as customizing their vessels with special equipment. Large private gatherings of Damselfly ship owners are not uncommon. They use these get-togethers to show off their ships and to race one another through asteroid belts and other obstacle courses, either for rewards or bragging rights. So there's Damselfly regattas,
right?
Essentially,
I want to see how fast the other one is. Okay, so
its AC is 19. It only has 200 hit points. Its damage threshold is only 15. but it has 70 feet of flying speed
Yeah.
as opposed to 45 for the other one.
Yeah, 35 actually. It's even
35,
less.
so it's
Yeah,
half.
yeah,
It has 1/10 of the cargo space,
but it
but it's
costs.
also only 20,000.
Yeah, which I guess. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, Delver's Dream could afford to create. I feel like Delvers might need to create a massive Spelljamming ship.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what like the biggest one is. Like the absolute
Let's see.
beefiest.
So it's got a ballista and a mangonel. Fabulous. It looks like a little baby ship. I love the way that it literally
Yeah.
is like a dragonfly.
Yeah,
That's
it really
awesome.
doesn't do that much damage compared to the other one because the one has a big fuck off cannon on it.
Yeah.
But-
All right. Aside from space galleons, flying fish are the most common vessels in wild space, favorites among merchants and adventurers alike. A flying fish can float and sail on water, but it isn't built to land on the ground. Since typical weapons on a flying ship include a forward-mounted mangonel and an aft-mounted ballista. All right, so it's got 15 AC because it's made of wood, 250 hit points, 15 damage threshold. It only has a fly speed of 40. Decent cargo of 13 tons, crew of 10, and only 20,000 gold pieces. It's got ballista and mangonel, and yeah, it's got like basic. It's
Yeah.
basic, but it's very pretty with its fins.
You know,
and
the
things.
trade-off for versus the other one is it has more cargo space and
Yeah.
some more hit points, but you know loses the armor and the maneuverability.
Yeah, a hammerhead ship. This is what I got to fly when I was
Okay.
playing over in Phoenix Seawalkie. Hammerhead ships are popular craft, especially among pirates and merchants carrying heavy cargo. They can float on the water and sail across it, but they aren't built to land on ground. Standard weapons on a hammerhead ship include fore and aft mangonels, a ballista, and a reinforced bow for ramming, which is delightful. All right, it's got 400 hit points, which is fun.
Yeah.
Damage threshold 15, slow fly speed of 35. It can carry 30 tons. It's 250 feet. It's 40,000 gold pieces.
Okay.
That's decent. All right. Ballista, basic. Blunt ram. The ship's Spelljammer can make the following attack when the ship runs into another object or into a gargantuan creature. Ooh. You can slam the ship into a dragon like this.
Yep.
Blunt ram, melee attack plus 8 to hit. One object or gargantuan creature. 16 D10 damage. Average of 88 damage.
Yeah, that's the same as that cannon.
Yeah,
Not at range.
bludgeoning damage. The hammerhead ship takes half as much damage and comes to a dead stop. If you miss, the attack deals no damage. The target moves into the nearest unoccupied space that isn't the hammerhead ship's path, and the hammerhead ship can continue moving if it has any movement left. But it also has 2 mangonels, so this is set up for war. Is
Yeah.
what this is set up for. Absolutely, I like that one. Ooh, a lamprey ship. That's interesting. Parasitic ship. Lamprey ships are antiquated, being among the oldest spelljamming ships in use. Surlons are particularly fond of them. Using the metal grappling jaws built into its bow, a lamprey ship can attach itself to another ship, which is a critical feature during onboard actions. Other standard weapons include 4 ballista on the main deck. A lamprey can float on water, though it can't land safely on ground. Lamprey ships that land on the ground have the distressing habit of rolling over, as more than a few crews have discovered they've dismayed. All right. So we've got 15 AC, hit points 250, damage threshold 15, all basic, speed slow at 35, very low cargo capacity, only 6 tons, but a very big crew contingent. Okay. And 20,000 gold pieces. So it's got 4 ballista and grappling jaws. If it hits, it does 4d10 damage, and it grapples the other ship. So you can have ships that actually grapple another ship. Lovely. Ooh, what's this? A living ship.
Oh.
This must be from the Druids. Druids and other clerics devoted to gods of nature are often found aboard living ships, as are wild space explorers who don't want to have to worry about their ship's air envelope becoming fouled during a long journey. The ship's main distinctive feature is the fully grown treant on the aft deck. The Treant has a speed of 0 because its roots are woven into the deck. It and the ship are inseparable. If the ship is reduced to 0 hit points, the Treant dies of shock. The ship can function if its Treant dies, but the Treant can never be replaced with another. When the Treant finishes a long rest, it repairs the ship's hull, enabling the ship to regain 4d12 hit points, and refreshes the ship's air envelope, turning deadly air into foul air or foul air into fresh air. A living ship can float on water and sail across it, but can't land safely on the ground. It is standard weaponry for an aft-mounted ballista. All right, let's see what this is. So it's got an AC of 15, 250 hit points, damage threshold 15, a little faster than normal, it's 40 feet. It only has 10 tons of cargo space, a crew of only 5 plus a treant, and it costs 25,000 gold. There's 3 ballista on it. That is, although that's a really cool ship.
That is a really cool ship.
And the thing is, you could have a much larger crew contingent because the air gets refreshed daily.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, because it's supposed to last 4 months normally.
So you could have, technically, you could have, what would that be? 5 times 1. So you could have 600 people on this ship, and they would all be able to breathe indefinitely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, assuming they don't fit.
I mean, but the gravity plane, you could just sleep on the hull.
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
I mean, you could absolutely, you could take one of these things and make it like a colony ship where you have like 500 people, and what you do is you create like tiers of hammocks. So that like you have hammocks that are right next to the ship, and then you have hammocks that hang lower and lower and lower. So you just have like enough space for like 500 people to sleep in their hammocks. Absolutely. 100%. I think that would be delightful.
That is cool.
Oh my god. All right. The Nautiloid.
Oh,
Just FYI, my players in Delver Stream accidentally crashed a Nautiloid ship into a palace.
Yeah, oops.
Downing the Nautiloid ship. Built and used by mind flayers, Nautiloids are designed exclusively for space travel. They can't float on water, nor can they land safely on the ground. As an action, a creature attuned to a Nautiloid spelljamming helm and in physical contact with a ship can transport the Nautiloid and all creatures and objects aboard it to a different plane of existence at or near a destination envisioned by the Spelljammer. What?
I think you just dip.
This property is a feature of the ship, not the spelljamming helm. Each time the property is used, roll a d6. On a 5 to 6, the property recharges after 1 minute. Otherwise, it can't be used again for 24 hours. Oh my god.
Dang.
Okay, so it's got an AC of 15, lots of hit points, 400, damage threshold 15, flying speed of 40, cargo of 17 tons, crew of 20, and this is, of course, it's 50,000.
Yeah.
Of course it is, because you can plane shift.
Yeah.
With this fucking thing. Oh my god. It's got 4 ballista, a mangonel, oh my god. And tentacles, yes. As an action, the ship's spelljammer can make one of the following attacks with the ship's tentacles. Grappling tentacles, it has 30-foot reach, one huge or gargantuan target. It does 22 bludgeoning damage, and the Nautiloid's speed becomes 0 until its spelljammer uses an action to release the target. If the target is a creature, it is grappled, DC 16. If the target is another ship, the target's speed becomes 0 until the Nautiloid releases it, or until the target or the Nautiloid drops to 0 hit points. Or it can teleport. Oh my god, melee spell attack, 30-foot reach. The target must succeed on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw or be teleported to an unoccupied space aboard the Nautiloid that the Nautiloid spelljammer can see.
Like a jail cell.
Yeah, now remember, the Nautiloid spelljammer can act as though it can be anywhere. It sees anything as though it were anywhere on the ship. So it can choose to be, like, this is the whole thing with, like, the Baldur's Gate opening cinematic.
Yeah.
This is what's happening, is they're teleporting people into the pod chambers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's terrible.
Yeah, that's rude. That's very rude. All right, I'm going to start speeding through these because it's past 7 o'clock. There it is. Right. Night Spider. Neogi, who are terrible slavers, terrorize wild space in ships of their own construction, which others call night spiders. These vessels often wait in ambush for other ships. Once a target ship is identified, the Neogi try to steal its spell-jamming helm and capture its crew. A night spider's crew usually consists of 19 Neogi and up to half dozen Umber Hulks. Oh my god. Which the Neogi uses shock troops. So you just chuck an Umber Hulk over to somebody else's Spelljammer, and it just rips through their hull. Absolutely. Night spiders are designed for space travel alone and can't float on water or land safely on the ground. Standard weaponry on a night spider includes 4 ballista and a forward-facing mangonel. So we've got, very good armor class. It's made of metal. It's 19.
Yeah.
Hit 300, damage threshold 15, flying speed of 40, huge cargo capacity at 50 tons, massive crew 25, and it's 50,000. Absolutely. So it's got 4 ballista and a mangonel.
Beefy.
Yeah, this baby will do things.
It can't do quite as much damage as some of the other ones, but it is bulky.
It's got 4 ballista.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of them have ballista. Like, no, it's
got 4 ballista and a mangonel. Mangonel does 27 average. So in one round, if all of them are crewed, if all these weapons are crewed, then what you get is 17 D10 every round.
Dang. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus chucking Umber Hulks at people. I want to let us not forget getting an Umber Hulk chucked at your ship.
That's insane.
Don't forget that Umber Hulks, one of the reasons that they are so terrifying is because not only are they very strong, fast, and they can burrow into your ship, anyone within 30 feet of an Umber Hulk has the potential of becoming confused. That's one of their abilities. It's not an action. It's just anytime you're within 30 feet of an Umber Hulk, they've got like this confusion look that just comes at you. All right, Scorpion ships. Let's see what this is. Scorpion ships are archaic metal warships that have never lost their popularity, largely because of their versatility. Articulated legs enable a Scorpion ship to land safely on the ground and move across a solid surface at walking speed. Ooh, that's fun. Of 30 feet. The ship can't float on water, however. A ballista mounted on the top deck and a mangonel is perched on the end of the tail. The ship's 2 claws are relatively inefficient in combat, but a claw that grabs a creature can quickly take it out of action. All right, cool. So it's got nice high AC, 19. Only has 250 hit points. They're old ships.
Yeah, they're older.
Got a damage threshold of 15, a fly speed of 30 feet, but also a walking speed of 30 feet, which is delightful.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a fabulous war machine anywhere because it can also take off. It can land, start walking with an army, and then fly off.
Fly away.
Cargo, 12 tons, not a lot of cargo room. 25,000 gold pieces. It's got 1 ballista and 2 claws. What do the claws do? So it's bludgeoning damage. It's only 2d10 bludgeoning damage. If the target is a huge or smaller creature, it's also grappled. Until this grapple ends, the creature does take 2d10 bludgeoning damage at the start of each of its turn.
Oh, dang.
So you can grab 2 creatures and just crush them to death over the course of some rounds, and then throw them down and pick up 2 more. Like okay. I mean, this thing is no joke. This will do it.
It makes sense why people like it.
All right, cool. Let's do it for a Shrike ship. Okay. This swift vessel is a relatively recent design, quickly gaining popularity with merchants and pirates. A Shrike ship's legs enable it to land safely on ground. This ship can float, but isn't built for traveling on water and sinks quickly in rough seas. Standard weaponry on a Wight includes 3 ballista, 1 in the forecastle, 1 in the middle and the top deck, and 1 in the stern castle. In a desperate situation, the ship's reinforced bow can be used as a piercing ram. Oh, so it can ram things too. Cool. So 15 AC, 250 hit points, low hit points, regular damage threshold, very fast speed, very nice, 70. 20 tons of cargo, not great. Crew, 11, not great. Only 20,000 gold pieces, so very cheap. Probably the cheapest we've seen. It's got 3 ballista. The piercing ram Looks like it's the same as the Hammerhead's ram.
Yeah.
It takes half as much damage. They stop. Yep. All right. Cool. Absolutely. So this is like the best of all worlds, essentially.
Yeah, this kind of is like the Mario of
Yes.
the ships.
All right, Space Galleon. Apparently, the Space Galleon is a mainstay among the host of vessels that fly wild space in the Astral Sea. Space galleons can easily pass for ordinary seafaring galleons because they can land on water and move across it like their namesakes. They can sail into ports on terrestrial worlds without attracting undue attention. Oh, I love that there might be some spelljamming ships wandering around.
Oh.
That you don't know are spelljammers.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Like an ordinary galleon, a space galleon isn't built to land on the ground. The ship's standard weapon includes 2 forward-mounted ballistae and an aft-mounted mangonel. So it's got 15 AC, very good hit points of 400, regular damage threshold, regular speed, 20 tons of cargo, crew of 20, that's decent, and 30,000 gold pieces is a little more expensive than regular, but totally fine. 2 ballista and a mangonel. Cool, so it's a fabulous flying ship. You get a flying ship.
Yeah.
Is what you do. It's delightful.
You thought it was normal, but now it's flying.
Now we've got a squid ship. Among the oldest types of spelljamming vessels, squid ships are popular with privateers and are often used as patrol ships. Standard weapons on a squid ship include a forward-mounted mangonel, 2 aft-mounted ballista, and reinforced bow for ramming. Oh, it gets all the things. The tentacles that extend from the bow account for nearly half the ship's keel length. Squid ships can float and sail on water, but they can't land on the ground. Absolutely. There is... Oh my god, there is... Oh shit, we have not been paying attention to the chat. Hi, Crimson!
Oh, hi!
I'm sorry, I don't know how long ago you said I have been whipping through all of this so that I'm not up till midnight reading about it. Rubble Foreskin, hi! There are a bunch of really cool looking ships in here,
oh, yeah.
Rumble. Like, if you get a chance to look through it, definitely do. All right, so the Squid ship, regular AC, hit points of 300, so nice hit points. Regular damage threshold, slow flying speed, 20 tons of cargo, crew 13, 25,000 gold pieces, so fairly cheap. It's got 2 ballista, the mangonel, and a piercing ram, like the last one. All right, so it's got all the ways to mess you up. Delightful. Ew, this is pretty. What's the Star Moth? I love that. Star Moths are ships constructed and flown by astral elves who don't like it when these ships end up in the hands of others. The Star Moth's hull is fashioned from a grown and sculpted organic substance, and its enormous decorative wings are made of shimmering crystal. The vessel is built for space travel, but its design does enable it to float on water or land safely on the ground. Standard weaponry include 2 ballista, nestled in the Star Moth's eye holes, and a mangonel mounted above the bridge. Fabulous.
Nice.
And, ooh, very low AC, only 13 because it's made of ceramics.
Yeah.
But it's got 400 hit points, damage threshold of 15, speed, good speed. It's got 50 flight, 30 tons of cargo, good, crew of 13, and it does cost 40,000 gold, so it's expensive.
It's a bit more.
So, this is definitely the artisan ship,
right?
Like the artisanal ship of the spelljamming crew. It doesn't have like any sort of extra special thing, but this is the ship that you get if you have the cash.
Yeah. And you're not just going to war.
Yeah, absolutely. What is this? A turtle ship? A turtle ship is encased in protective metal shell as befits its name and bristles with weapons. In addition to its roomy quarters, it can carry a decent-sized payload, making it popular among traders and others who need a bit of cargo space. The ship can land on the ground, and it floats in water. Sliding panels can be closed to make the hull airtight, enabling ship to travel underwater safely, even to great depths. If the ship takes damage while on or under the water, interior hatches can be sealed to prevent the ship from flooding completely. Standard weaponry on the turtle ship includes a forward-mounted ballistae, rear-facing mangonel. These weapons can't be used while the ship is underwater. Oh my god, it's a submarine.
I love it. This is my favorite so far. I like this. This is cool.
Lucky turtle ship. It's got massive AC of 19, decent hit points of 13, damage threshold of 15, very slow speed of 25, 30 tons of cargo, so good. Crew of 16, so decent, and it's 40,000 gold pieces. I am here. Honestly, I'd much rather have a turtle ship than a moth ship. The moth ships are very pretty, but I'd much rather a turtle ship.
Yeah.
There's 3 ballista, fabulous, and a mangonel, delightful. All right, so you can do all kinds of stuff. And then now we get to the beholder ship, the tyrant ship. Beholders carve tyrant ships out of stone using their disintegration rays and use these ships to wander the astral plane. So essentially they'll like pick an asteroid and turn it into a ship.
Basically.
Looking for worlds to conquer and rival beholders to destroy. No 2 tyrant ships look alike, but they all have 1 or more features reminiscent of their creators, such as bulbous shape and eye stalks. A spherical chamber on the ship's command deck functions as a Spelljammer helm that only beholders can attune to. I'm sending the Florid out. I am sending the Florid out to make a oh my god, the Florid could make a living. She could make a living Spelljammer ship.
Good. 100% she could.
Everybody that she turns into a freaking topiary just melts into the ship. Oh my god, I love that. For those of you who don't know, the Florid, let's throw some welcome out there in the chat for the Florid.
The Florid.
Love that. For those who don't know, the Florid is, in our setting, a beholder that is made completely out of flowers. And instead of doing things like disintegrating people, she turns them into topiaries. Instead of turning them to stone, she turns them into topiaries. She can make all kinds of flowers bloom around her all the time. It's just, instead of disintegrating people, she turns them into fertilizer. Like this. It just makes me very, very happy. I do love it. There's the spherical chamber of the ships. Let me see. Any beholder that occupies this chamber can attune to it. Good. Reducing a tyrant ship to 0 hit point not only destroys it, but also destroys the ship's spelljamming helm and eye stock cannons. Shut up. A tyrant ship can't float on water, but it can safely land on the ground. All right. Ooh, it's stone, so it's got a different kind of AC. It's 17. Decent hit points at 300. Damage threshold of 20, so it's very difficult to hurt. Fly speed of 40, so that's good. Cargo of 20 tons, fine. Crew of 10 beholders only. And there is no cost because the beholders just carve it out.
It's free.
There you go. You just need a big rock. Big rock. 3 eye stock cannons. This weapon looks like an eye mounted on an eye stock. A beholder stationed in one of this tyrant ship's meditation pods can see through the eye by concentrating on it and can use an action to make the following attack. It's +8 to hit, range 120, 480, 1 target, 10d6 force damage. That's no joke.
That is no
Almost
joke.
500 feet, and you can do force damage to things? Absolutely. Oh my, I love how this is set up so completely differently than any of the other freaking ships. That's amazing. All right, a wasp ship. Wasp ships are lightweight wooden vessels capable of landing safely on the ground, but not on water. They appeal to adventurers because they're affordable and don't require a large crew. Pirates like them because they're swift. Aristocrats are fond of them as flying yachts because the ship's cargo can easily be converted into posh living quarters. The ship's raised back provides high ground for a weapon emplacement, which is typically equipped with a ballista. All right, so 15 AC, 250 hit points, so low hit points. Damage threshold regular 50. Speed is 50 feet, so that's nice. Cargo of 10 tons, so very low cargo. Crew of 5, so very low crew. And 20,000. I don't know why an aristocrat would choose this when it's only 20,000. You know?
Yeah, over a damselfly?
Yeah.
You can't afford it. Yeah, cheap ass.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, because damselfly was
that's
what?
somebody rolling up with a Porsche and their friend rolling up with a friggin' Maserati.
Well, the damselfly was only 20,000 as well.
Oh, well.
So this one has cheap. more cargo and less crew.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is kind of like someone that wants to live on it, and the other one is like it's their pleasure yacht or whatever. Well, they
I
don't
love
live
it.
there, but
Oh my God. Well, that is spell jamming for you. Tomorrow, join us as we look through Boo's Compendium. It's going to be
so
delightful.
good. So
We are
excited.
going to look at all of the fun animals that you get to play with in Spelljammer. It's going to be great. I can't wait to read through that. That's going to be super fabulous. And in the meantime, thank you everyone for joining us today. Please, everybody, before you head out, go ahead down to the About page here on Twitch and go check out our sponsors and say hey to them and say thank you for supporting fabulous content like Playnerd Allies. And now we're going to go a raiding over to somebody else. It looks like Carney is not live.
Yeah,
are they?
I was just looking at it. I didn't see, no.
I didn't see Carney Sideshow, so you know what? Let's head over to CNE Games. Let's go head over to Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms. Yay!
Yeah!
And we will see what they are doing over there. So everybody have a fabulous evening. Take care of yourselves out there, and we will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern as we go through a brand new book from WotC. Yay!
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.